Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Wednesday edition of the Logan Blackman Show. I hope you all are having a fantastic week up until this point. And man, oh man, we are back on schedule, ladies and gentlemen. I know last week we had to post on a Thursday. I was just exhausted when I was home on Tuesday night last week. I could not record. For the life of me, I could not record. So we record on a Wednesday, post on a Thursday, but again, that's not going to be a regular thing. We're going to continue to post on Wednesdays like we normally do here on the Logan Blackman Show, and we're going to post videos on Saturdays. Last week was just a jumbled mess because the NFL Draft, for those of you who forgot, all the way back 10 days ago, the NFL Draft was there, done and dusted, and the first round was on Thursday. I couldn't get a video done and recorded, edited, and posted by the time Saturday rolled around. So that pushed that back to Sunday. And then last week, because of that delay, that delayed me in the podcast recording. So then I had to push that to Thursday. But this week, we're going to be back on Wednesday. We're going to have a video for you on Saturday. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But before we get into what we're going to talk about today, let's go over the housekeeping items first. Make sure to follow the Logan Blackman Show on every single form of social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can find me on Twitter at Logan_Blackman. Instagram account's Blackman Logan. The show's Instagram account's The Logan Blackman Show 1. Facebook and YouTube, search Logan Blackman Show. Make sure you like and follow the Facebook page. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, we will have a video coming out for you on Saturday. You can also check out our quarterback reaction, destination reaction video that we posted last Saturday. Was it Saturday? Yeah, last Saturday we posted the video. We were back on track last Saturday. So you can go and check that video out on the Logan Blackman Show YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to the Logan Blackman Show podcast YouTube channel. If you're listening to the podcast channel right now, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And for those of you listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, make sure you are subscribed to both of them and or one of them. I don't really care, but just make sure to leave a rating under 5 stars on both. Leave a description down below on why you feel the way you do. Now, man, oh man, oh man. We're in a weird part of the NFL football offseason at this point in time. The NFL schedule releases comes out in a week, if I'm not mistaken. I think May 14th is when the official start date of the NFL, or not the start date of the NFL, but when the schedule gets released. So we're not going to have a show talking about the schedule release unless we record on a Wednesday next week. But what is interesting with that is that we have win totals already out. Projected win totals, I should say. This is from FanDuel. I found this on CBS Sports. I saw it on Instagram. They were posting about it. 2025 win totals for next season. We'll obviously talk about this a little bit more and my division winners and stuff like that. Brady and I kind of already did that. Or like we were talking about our division winners, who could finish last, who could go worst to first, all that good stuff. But the official stuff that came out yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, has the Kansas City Chiefs, this is the AFC side, Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, and Buffalo Bills all projected, the win total at 11.5 wins right there. The next teams on there are the Broncos at 9.5, Bengals and Chargers, and then the Texans. Those 4 teams are at 9.5. We have the Steelers and Dolphins at 8.5, the Colts, Patriots, Jaguars, and Raiders at 7.5, and the Titans, Jets, and Browns at 5.5. For the NFC side of things, only the Eagles are having 11.5 win projection. Then we have the Niners and Lions at 10.5, the Commanders, Rams, Bucks, and Packers at 9.5, the Cardinals, Vikings, and Bears at 8.5, 7.5 goes to the Falcons, Cowboys, and Seahawks, and the Saints, Panthers, and Giants. The Saints and Panthers, 6.5, and the Giants all the way down at 5.5. And I always think this is very interesting to look at this at this point in the offseason because the draft just ended. So we have like a more firm grasp of what NFL teams are going to look like going into the season. Obviously, they're going to be completely different than what they are now. Or not completely, but there's going to be some major changes that go along here. Like, let's say hypothetically the Pittsburgh Steelers do end up signing Aaron Rodgers. That's going to bring their win total from 8.5 down to 6.5. I kid. But there could be some big moves that happen between now and the official start date of the NFL season. There could be a rookie that we like on a team right now that's not going to be on the roster or can be on a completely different team before that point starts. Like the Cleveland Browns right now. 5.5 is their win projection at this point in time. They have 5 quarterbacks on the roster and no starters. At this current stage of their careers, no starters. Deshaun Watson at this current stage of his career is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. His shoulder's completely shot. He's more of a distraction both on and off the field than what is required of a quarterback that's paid as much as he is. The only reason he's still on a roster is because of the fact he's paid an exorbitant amount of money that no team can afford to, one, sign and be cut. No one can do that. So he is stuck there. I say he's stuck there. The Browns are stuck with him. Then you also got Joe Flacco, who's 40, Kenny Pickett, who just rode the bench for the Philadelphia Eagles, though he did take some snaps in the Super Bowl to see the things out against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you have two rookies in Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, who's taking number 12, which I think is a very fitting number for Shedeur Sanders. I mean, his dad wore number 21 in the NFL. His mentor was Tom Brady, wore number 12. So, I mean, it just makes sense that he wears number 12. And I think, again, like we talked about last week, he has a decent chance of being the starter. I'm not saying like week one starter, but at points throughout the season, it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if Shedeur Sanders winning as a starter. But, and that's because of the fact that they have no true starter on the roster. But he's going to have to work. He's not, again, Dylan Gabriel is drafted 50 places ahead of him. Like, he's got some things to work on. He's going to have to fight his way up the depth chart. The lease for Dylan Gabriel is going to be a lot longer than it is for Shedeur Sanders because of the fact he was drafted 50 picks before and 2 rounds before him. Like, that's just the fact of the matter. And I don't know what they're going to do with their quarterback situation right now because they're not going to keep 5 quarterbacks on the roster going into the season. They're not. That's not possible. That's very stupid to be doing that kind of thing. Now, I think both rookies will make the team, both Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, but what they do after that, I have no clue. I think in a perfect world, they're going to want to get rid of Deshaun Watson. I don't know how realistic that is. Like, you can't, I don't know what his buyout is or what they can do to cut him and stuff. No one's going to trade for him unless you eat most of his contract, but at that point, you might as well just cut him anyways because you're not going to get anything worthwhile for him anyway. You can't really cut Joe Flacco. I mean, that would just be mean. The dude's 40 years old. Just let him stay on the roster. So you're going to cut Kenny Pickett? Like, that's the whole weird thing with the Cleveland Browns roster right now. Because no one's definitely in last place, and no one's definitely in first place. Like, if there was a starter and a backup, then we got a bunch of third stringers right now. I'm being mean, of course. I don't think like Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are that bad of quarterbacks. They are not. I obviously had Shedeur Sanders as my QB2 going into the draft. But like we talked about last week, I'm not going to get into all this thing again. And you can watch the YouTube video there as well, where I go over it again, where it's not about his play or what he is as a quarterback, why he fell all the way to the 5th round. It has everything to do with outside of that. And you, again, go watch the video, go listen to the podcast from last week, and you'll hear my whole analysis on what happened with that whole situation. But it's going to be an interesting thing to see there. But the Browns right now, they have to be the heavy favorite to finish last in the AFC. Like, I know they have the 5.5 win total with the Jets and Titans in there, but I have a hard time believing the Jets are going to be as bad as what they were last year. I'm not the biggest fan of Justin Fields. I was a fan of his when he was at Ohio State. I liked him to a certain extent when he was with the Bears, but the way some people talk about him, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way in regards to now I don't really like it. I shouldn't say I don't like him. I have no issue with Justin Fields. I just don't think he's that good. And the Jets, they got a really good defense. They got a first-year head coach in Aaron Glenn and stuff like that, so there'll be some bumps in the road there. The Titans, they're going to be an intriguing team. Brian Callahan, a lot of people were talking about him getting fired after one season at the helm for the Tennessee Titans last year. But Cam Moore was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. You got a couple really good wide receivers in the 4th round. Like, you can rebuild a little bit. I'm not saying they're going to be like the Commanders and go to the AFC Championship game and stuff like that, but they were my pick out of the AFC teams that finished last in their division to go from worst to first. Because if you look back at those teams last year, it is the Browns finished last in the AFC North, the Jets who finished last in the AFC East, the Titans who finished dead last in the AFC South, and the Raiders who finished dead last in the AFC West. The Raiders might be the best team out of those teams. They have the best quarterback currently out of those teams. Cam Ward, I think, will be better than Geno Smith. I don't know about this year, but eventually at least. But the fact of the matter is the Raiders are in a division with the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not going to win the division. It doesn't matter how good of a team they are, unless Mahomes gets hurt like Brady did right after their 16-0 season, you're not winning the division. That was the only reason the Dolphins won the division, because they put Matt Castle in there. Yes, I understand the Patriots were 11-5 and stuff like that, but the Dolphins won that division because the Patriots didn't have Tom Brady. They went 11-5, which is not great for the Patriots. They missed the playoffs altogether that season. Missed it altogether that season. So the Raiders just, the simple fact of the matter is, they probably have the least likely chance of winning that division just because of the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are in the division. I would even say the Jets now. I don't know. The AFC East and West, they're firmly locked up at this point in time. As far as I can tell, those divisions are as locked up can be. If you weren't going to take the Bills division last year, if the Dolphins weren't going to take it 2 years ago, when the Bills started off 500 and fired their offensive coordinator, you're not going to take the division anytime soon, especially with Josh Allen coming off an MVP season. Like, you're just not going to do that. And the Ravens, Bengals, they're going to be battling it out. The Bengals cannot be as bad as what they were last year. They can't. Their defense cannot be as bad. I refuse to believe their defense will be as bad as what it was last year. It just can't. Like, Shamar Stewart coming in, I think, is a very good step in the right direction for that. He's a very high ceiling player. The floor is a little bit scary for some people out there, and I completely understand why that would be the case. Like 4.5 sacks through 3 years at Texas A&M, that's not really going to get the fans excited. It's not really going to, like, you can look at the stuff that you saw at the Combine, and people are like, oh, well, he's only a good workout player, but he played really well at the Senior Bowl as well. He put on some good performances there. But the Bengals, they also got Demetrius Knight from South Carolina. They got Barrett Carter in from Clemson. Like, they did make some decent moves in the draft. The defense, again, it just cannot be as bad as what it was last year. But right now, it just seems like it's going to be the Bills, Chiefs, Ravens again, like we saw last year. Because the Steelers will start off good, like they normally do. They'll finish above 500. They'll make the playoffs as the 7th seed. They'll get absolutely shit stomped by the 2 seed in the first round, like every other frickin' year. And it could be Aaron Rodgers under center. It could be Will Howard under center. To start the season, I would be willing to bet it's going to be Mason Rudolph to start. But Will Howard, I think, could beat out Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph's not that good. We know that. We've seen enough of Mason Rudolph in the NFL to know he's not a very good quarterback. Will Howard, I think, can beat him out. I'm not saying like it's a guaranteed, locked-on thing, but he could be the starter at certain points throughout the season. But yeah, the AFC, the division winners, it just seems the AFC South's up for grabs just because that division's trash. Like the Jaguars will be better by proxy with Liam Cohen coming in, Travis Hunter coming in. Like they will be better. The Titans will be better because they have Cam Ward at quarterback. They will be better. The Colts, I just feel like they're going to hover around 7-10, 8-9 again, or 9-8. They might get to 9-8 this year. That's what the Colts are, just like the definition or the picture of average, I guess. Like they have a lot of high ceiling players, but those guys aren't really developed at this point in time. Like you look at the draft when they drafted Anthony Richardson, that entire draft pretty much, barring Josh Downs, was all high potential people. Like we're drafting traits over college production at this point in time, and it's gotten mixed results at this point in time. Now, Tyler Warren, I think, is a very fun player. He should definitely elevate the offense a little bit. But the Texans, they are the best team in the division. CJ Stroud, I expect to be better than what he was this past year. They brought in a couple Iowa State receivers in there, and Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins. They're off the line. I don't know what the thing is with that. That's a very interesting whole other topic, but Texas should win it. But it wouldn't shock me if the Jaguars won the division. It wouldn't shock me if someone else won the AFC South this year. It wouldn't. But it makes sense why the Texans are the favorites to win that division. The Titans, there again, my pick. If I had to choose a team to go to worst to first in the AFC, it would be the Titans. Now, for the NFC side of things, the Eagles, the way they dominated the last half of the season last year, makes all the sense in the world why they're the favorites to win the NFC, be the best team in the NFC again. The Niners, they can't be as injured as they were last year. That is impossible that they're that injured again. Like Christian McCaffrey has battled injuries throughout the entire course of his career. That's no secret. But we all know when he's healthy, he's the best running back in football. When he's fully firing. Like he's one of 3 players in NFL history to have a 1,000 season. It's him, Marshall Faulk, and Roger Craig. Those 3 guys. That's it. Like we all know what Christian McCaffrey can do when he's healthy, but last season we just never got that from him. The offensive line for the 49ers was also not very good throughout major portions of the season last year. Brock Purdy was good. I guess this is the best thing I could say, average. Like he didn't do anything spectacular. They're still trying to figure out a contract situation with him. They did bring in Mac Jones this offseason. Not saying he's going to push Brock Purdy or anything, but that is the guy that Kyle Shanahan did originally want when they drafted Trey Lance at 3rd overall. Defense, they brought in Mykel Williams from Georgia. They lost Charvarius Ward. They lost Hufanga. They lost Dre Greenlaw. They cut a bunch of players along their defensive line. So it's a new look team. But again, and they trade Deebo Samuel as well. But it can't be as rough as it was last year because I just have a hard time believing they're going to be that injured again. And the Lions at 10.5, yeah, the Lions are just good. Even though they lost Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, I think the Lions will be able to maneuver just fine. I'm not saying they're going to be putting up like an astronomical amount of points like they did last year, but they've still got the same good players on this team that I think they could still be a very, very good football team. Washington, their thing is just, can they avoid the slump? Like, they had a great year last year. Can they continue that? They improved the offensive line. They brought in Josh Connerly. They brought in Laramie Tunsil. They brought in Deebo Samuel at wide receiver. Like, they're an improved team on paper. Let's just see if they continue to develop that front moving forward. They also brought in Trey Amos from Ole Miss, I believe, from the cornerback position, which I think is a very good get for them if that's who I believe they brought in Trey Amos, right? Yes, they did. Trey Amos, yes. That's going to be their big thing going into this season. What other teams? The Vikings. This is an interesting team. The Cardinals at 8.5, I think, is interesting as well, but not really. The Vikings at 8.5, going from 14-3 or 13-4. I can't remember the exact record that they had last year. The main thing with the Vikings is just their quarterback situation because J.J. McCarthy's in his first year as a starter. I like J.J. McCarthy a lot. I've been on the record numerous times that said if he came out this year instead of last year, he would have been the first overall pick in the draft. J.J. McCarthy is a damn good quarterback. And I think he's got the room around him, which is why they ended up going with him rather than Sam Darnold, coming off a very good year. And we always talked about how people wanting Sam Darnold to sign a long-term extension with the Vikings was just stupid. Like, we can always talk about how good he was this year, but let's not forget about the previous, 5 years, 6 years that we had on record already. Like, we can't just ignore that stuff. So he went over to Seattle. They brought in Jalen Milroe, which I think is a very intriguing option for the Seahawks. You look at Mike McDonald's offense, or not offense, but the place he came from, Baltimore, with Lamar Jackson. Someone's going to compare him to Lamar Jackson in regards to athleticism as Jalen Milroe. They're not the same quarterback, but in regards to speed, Jalen Milroe is that. So it wouldn't shock me, because we've talked about it before. Matt Flynn came into Seattle. They drafted Russell Wilson. Wilson was the week 1 starter. I'm not saying Jalen Milroe is going to be the week 1 starter, because if you saw Russell Wilson at NC State and Wisconsin, he was a lot more polished in regards as a passer than Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe may have all the attributes and tools, but we saw consistency from Russell Wilson that we did not see from Jalen Milroe while Alabama in regards to throwing the football. And Russell Wilson was like a 5-year starter in college. Like, he was experienced as hell. Jalen Milroe, he's not going to start week 1. But if he did end up taking it, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying he's going to, but it wouldn't surprise me because I think Sam Darnold is riding off the momentum. He's got a team with Cooper Kupp, with Jackson Smith and Jigba, with a team that's going to want to run the football a lot more, be a lot more physical. They've drafted Gray Zabel at 18th overall this year, which I think is a very good get. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what Darnold does, but I'm more excited to see what McCarthy does. This is one of the best spots a quarterback could be in the NFL. If you look at what the Vikings have in offense, especially what they redid on the offensive line, drafting Donovan Jackson, signing Will Fries and Ryan Kelly, that is a revamped offensive line that's 1,000 times better than what it was last year. And you still got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkins, and Aaron Jones who just signed an extension. Like, you still got all those pieces there with Kevin O'Connell still there. Like, the Vikings, they should be a good team. It's just going to be how healthy is J.J. McCarthy and how good is he in his de facto rookie season. Like the NBA. Could he be in the running for Rookie of the Year this year? NFL don't do it like that. But the Bears at 8.5. Bears are a better team now on paper than they were last year. If you remember last year, I was not necessarily the highest on the Chicago Bears. Like, we talk about all the pieces that they had, and you're like, yeah, they got names, but like DeAndre Swift was on his 3rd team in 3 years. Keenan Allen was on the wrong side of 30 and struggled to stay healthy throughout numerous points in his career. Rome Odunze was a rookie. The offensive line still wasn't great. Like, there was still some moving pieces. Matt Eberflus was the head coach there. Like, there were so many pieces there where you're like, yeah, you got Caleb Williams and DJ Moore, but I need to see a little bit. before I can start going like, oh yeah, this team's the truth. And they weren't the truth last year. And Caleb Williams had a very up and down rookie year, but a good rookie year. I don't want to, like, there were some people talking about like he was a bust. Like, we're not going that far at all. Let's not do that. Let's not be that stupid. The Bears with Ben Johnson is awesome. Bringing in Luther Burden in the second round, somehow getting him, getting Colston Loveland at 10, I think is awesome for them. I think the Bears are going to be a lot of fun this year. And that NFC North is going to be tough. Like, you look at the four teams of the division, their projected win totals. Lions at 10.5 is the best team. The Bears and Vikings are the worst at 8.5. That's how tight this division is right now. Didn't even touch on the Packers. Them getting freaking Matthew Golden in the first round. That's going to be fun to watch because Christian Watson is always hurt and Romeo Doubs gets linked to trades every other day. Like, that's going to be fun to watch, see Matthew Golden there. Hopefully Jordan Love, for their sake, can actually stay healthy the entire year. And they still got Josh Jacobs in the backfield as well. Like, that division's going to be fun to watch. But in regards to the worst team, the Giants, it's hard not to say the Giants. It's not. It's hard not to. I mean, the Eagles are the best team in the NFC, reigning Super Bowl champs. The Commanders just went to the NFC Championship game. The Cowboys cannot be worse than what they were last year. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Brian Schottenheimer as a head coach, they still got good players that can stay healthy. You need Dak Prescott to stay healthy. You need to. I think Tyler Booker coming in, I think is a very good get to replace Kevin Zeitler. I think it's a very smart, very Cowboy-esque pick in recent years. They got Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Tyler Booker along that offensive line. If Dak stays healthy, there's no reason why they can't be back to being a playoff contending team. I'm not saying they're going to win the division or anything. Because on paper, the Eagles should have no problems in that division again. But they should be improved to what they were last year. The defense cannot be much worse than what it was last year. It can't. So the Giants are just by default in the toughest division in the NFC in regards to like how bad. Because obviously the NFC North is the toughest division. But in regards to like how bad the last place team is and where they're going to try and make up wins, that's where I would say, for the Giants standpoint, it's the, I don't know how I'm trying to word this. I hope it makes somewhat sense that what I'm trying to say here. Like the Giants, the teams that are above the Giants are so much better than them right now. It's hard for me to imagine them not being the worst team in the NFC this year. But hey, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart, they got Abdul Carter, the third overall pick. We'll see what they do with Kayvon Thibodeau. Still got Brian Burns there. Offensive line, if they could stay healthy, that'd be awesome. You still got Andrew Thomas. If he could stay healthy, he's a really good tackle. Malik Neighbors is there. Like, they could draft a Cam Scadaboo as well in the fourth round. The Giants are going to be an interest. The Panthers at 6.5. I'm excited to see what the Panthers do with Bryce Young. Teteroa McMillan drafting him at 8th. The Paris Xavier Legette. I like that move a lot. Jonathan Brooks, can he stay healthy this year? Remember, he was battling a torn ACL going into the draft last year and missed some time this past season as well. So hopefully he's up and firing this year. I'm excited to see what they do. The defense still scares me. Yes, Derek Brown coming back will be massive because remember he missed last season due to injury. That'll be big. They re-signed and restructured J.C. Horn. Like, that's a big move for them right there. But the defense is going to struggle. It's going to struggle. And the NFC South's not a very good division. It hasn't been in God knows how many years. But I like what Bryce Young did the back half of last year, and I'm excited to see what he does. Saints, it wouldn't shock me if they were the worst team in the NFL this year. It really wouldn't. They're at 6.5, and their division's terrible. Like, the Bucs, they're the projected winners at 9.5, but the Saints are just so, we've said it 1,000 times, devoid of young talent. They've got none of it on the roster. Like, Derek Carr's shoulder injury is going to be a problem. Maybe it's not a problem because the entire team doesn't seem to like him. The city of New Orleans doesn't seem to like him. Saints fans don't seem to like him. So maybe it's not that big of a deal. Tyler Shuck could come in and be the day one starter, and I don't really think there'd be that many issues. Tyler Shuck, given Derek Carr's shoulder injury, is the best quarterback on the roster right now. And he hasn't played a game yet in the NFL. I know that Spencer Rattler's got some fans out there, but the Saints are just so devoid of any young talent that I look at it and go, what is your goal for this year? Kellen Moore's coming in as the head coach. That'll be an intriguing move for them there. But, man, I don't know. I like the fact they got Kelvin Banks. I like their offensive line. I like the makings of their offensive line that they got going there. But they don't really have any weapons on the outside. Alvin Kamara's getting older. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of what they do on the defensive side of the ball. it would not shock me at this point in time if they ended up being the worst team in football. And that could come back to bite me in the ass, 100%. We are sitting here in frickin' May. It's May 6th right now. But the Browns will be bad as well. I know they got Mason Graham. I know they got Myles Garrett and all that stuff, but their quarterback situation is a mess. That is the most uncertain, unstable quarterback room in the league by a wide margin. Maybe you could throw the Jets in there, but that room is insane. Like, I know there's going to be some people that say the Giants, but hey, at least Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson are starters in the NFL, and we saw them play recently. Or can be starters. I'm not going to say Jameis Winston's a starting quarterback in the NFL, but he can start, and he can make plays. Who makes plays on the Cleveland Browns roster from quarterbacks? That we have seen at this point. Like, if your answer is 40-year-old Joe Flacco, then that's the answer of who's the most dysfunctional quarterback room in the NFL. Maybe you could throw in the Steelers in there because Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, Will Howard. Maybe you could go that direction there as well. And I wouldn't be mad at that one either. But I trust the Steelers a little bit more than I trust the Browns. But yeah, the odds are the odds. And I don't tend to pay attention to them too much. Let the Dolphins at 8.5. The definition of like we've seen this story 1,000 times. The Dolphins could probably finish below that. The Patriots 7.5. That's an interesting one because I like what the Patriots did in the draft and it pisses me off. Getting Will Campbell in, I think, is a great get. Getting Kyle Williams from Washington State, awesome pick. What was that, the third round? Awesome pick. Travion Henderson, the best pass blocking running back in the draft, who's also the most electrifying running back out of the top options in the draft. Because I know some of you might say Tutton from Virginia Tech and stuff like that, but Travion Henderson is that. Jared Wilson from Georgia at center. Getting Joshua Farmer from Florida State at defensive tackle. Like, these are nice gets for the Patriots. Like, these are just very, very nice gets. And it's pissing me off that they're going to be better because Drake May is going to be better than what he was last year. And Drake May had a very solid rookie year. And Mike Vrabel's in, who's already an upgraded head coach. So the Patriots are going to be good. Like, not good, but they're going to be solid. And I don't like that. And it wouldn't shock me. I don't know if this is a hot take or something. It wouldn't shock me if the Patriots finished above the Dolphins this year in the division. It really wouldn't shock me. Is that a hot take? Let me know. I have no idea. But that would not surprise me in the slightest if the New England Patriots, a team that just won 4 games this past year, if that team ended up being better than the Miami Dolphins. And given my recent my life, I hate the Patriots more than the Dolphins. But in recent years, my developed hate for the Dolphins is grown exponentially because of the hype they would get, how explosive their offense was, how revolutionary their offense was. Every single year, they underperform and they stink. Especially if they trade Jalen Ramsey, you have no corners on that roster. When did they trade Tyreek Hill, who wasn't very good last year, but Tyreek Hill still demands attention. Like, I like the get of Kenneth Grant. I like the dude they got from Arizona at guard. Jordan Phillips, I liked him from Maryland. They got him in the 5th round. Ollie Gordon, let's see if he can replicate some stuff with the Dolphins from Oklahoma State. Quinn Ewers, I think he fits what the Dolphins do on offense. I don't know how much he's going to play, but he's going to probably play a little bit because Tua's going to get hurt at some point in the year, which is unfortunate, but that's just how things work in the NFL. Tua gets hurt. It's how it happens. I don't write the rule book. That's just how it goes. Tua is going to get hurt. And if Zach Wilson goes in or Quinn Ewers goes in, either way, I do think that's a better room than what they had previously where they had Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley, and Skylar Thompson. I do think that's a better room than that. Because they fit the offense more than what those two did. But the Dolphins, I do like their running backs. I do like Achane. Who's the other running back they have? The Jalen Wright, I like him a decent amount too. They brought in Alexander Madison. But it's the Dolphins. Is Zach Wilson really number 0? Is that true? I just clicked on the Dolphins roster, and I'm seeing Zach Wilson wear number 0. Is that 100% true? Oh, please put Zach Wilson in. I gotta see if Zach Wilson chooses a rare number to wear as he starts his mind. He chose this 2 weeks ago. Wow. He will now wear number 0, becoming the first Dolphins quarterback to wear that number. First quarterback to ever wear that number. Wow. Has there ever been a quarterback to wear number 0? I know there was a guy from, I think, UTSA that wore number 0. But that's the only quarterback I've ever seen wear number 0. Zach Wilson wearing number 0. That's kind of funny. Because the 0 stands for how many receivers he can hit, which is 0. Do you remember like when D'Angelo Russell and Nick Young played each other for number 0 because nobody can guard him? And then D'Angelo Russell had to wear number 1 because Nick Young beat him in one-on-one. So one person can guard. If he completes a pass, he has to change his number every single pass he completes this year, which could end up still being 0. It still could be 0. I don't know. Oh my goodness, I love this stuff. Marcus Mariota, he wore number 0, I guess. Marcus Mariota wore number 0 last year. So Zach Wilson's the second quarterback in NFL history to wear number 0. I kind of forgot Marcus Mariota wore number 0. He's number 18 now, isn't he? I didn't realize he was number 0. I must have completely spaced that. Oh, great. Now my computer's not working. I'm joking. But while we're on the topic of quarterbacks, shifting focuses from NFL record predictions and stuff like that, I want to talk about the quarterback class for next year. And before I do that, I had a Facebook memory pop up, and I just want to do this really quick. Because a year ago yesterday, I had a memory pop up on Facebook where I posted a link to a show where I did my 2022 quarterback prospects. May 5th, 2021 is when I posted this. May 5th, 2021. That is insane that was posted. It's crazy the stuff that like pops up on memories. But the reason I wanted to talk about this is because around this time is the part of the offseason where NFL fans get bored. Like most people like myself, we have baseball and stuff like that. You have playoff hockey, you have playoff basketball, you have NASCAR. Like there's some people that have F1. Like there's other things you can do. But most people, or not most people, but a lot of people are like, well, what do I do with myself? I don't have football anymore. So you start focusing on the next year, and you start trying to predict what can happen in the next year's draft, because the NFL draft is a spectacle. That's the best way I can put it. The NFL draft is an absolute spectacle, and you build up, there's so much hype going into it that once it's over, it's like, shit, what do I do with myself now? I spent all that time and energy gearing up towards the 2025 NFL draft. Now I've just still got draft on the brain. I want to keep going talking more NFL draft. So you try to go into next year and go like, well, here's where the best prospects are going into the season. And it's like, dude, why are we doing this to ourselves? I say we're because I do the exact same freaking thing. It's not because I'm bored or anything. It's just fun. Like it could go out one day and be like the most accurate thing possible. And you can just hold out your record or your picture and go like, hey, remember back in May, I said this guy was going to be the number 1 overall quarterback in the draft, and he ended up being that. But then you could have other guys, you're like, oh, I had this guy as well. It's like, oh, yeah, don't talk about that guy. Don't talk about that one where I had him that high. And in this one, this was for the 2022 NFL draft class. For those of you who don't remember what the 2022 NFL draft class was, that was Kenny Pickett's draft class. So, just to spoil, I have not looked back through this. I've not looked back through it. This one's not going to be good, because I can promise you I did not have Kenny Pickett as QB1. I might not even have Kenny Pickett in the top 10, let alone number 1. So, we'll go through this. I want to read the descriptions here as well. On every single pick, way too early, quarterback prospect rankings of the 2022 NFL Draft. Number 10, we are starting off strong. Tyler Shuck from Texas Tech is on this list. He just transferred, actually. He just transferred from Oregon to Texas Tech. This was posted May 4th, 2021. The blog post May 4th. The podcast came out on the 5th. May 4th, 2021. Tyler Shuck is number 10. Tyler Shuck is one of the more intriguing quarterbacks in the 2022 class. There were times at Oregon he looked very good, and other times where he get benched for Boston College transfer Anthony Brown, who's assumed to be the Ducks starting quarterback this upcoming season. It'll be interesting to see how Shuck does at Texas Tech. We know he's going to put up some good numbers because Texas Tech's QB's friendly system, but will that be enough to reward him a possible first-round pick? Time will tell. He's got the size, mobility, skill set, and potential to be an NFL quarterback. He just needs to find some consistency at the collegiate level, hoping to find that at Texas Tech. Well, he didn't really find it at Texas Tech. He spent 90% of the time at Texas Tech hurt. Like, that was where he had all the major injuries in college that everybody wanted to talk about with Tyler Shuck and his injury history. Like, he was at Texas Tech for 4 years. How many games do you think he started? Well, I'll tell you. Or he started Texas Tech for 3 years, sorry. He started 13 games in 3 years. 13 games. Started 4 games in 2021, 5 games in 22, and 4 games in 23. The time he finally found consistency was this past year at Louisville, where he started all 12 games. Started 12 games, didn't start the bowl game. Went 8-4, 3,100 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 6 picks, became a second-round draft pick. Like, this was right when he transferred from Oregon to Texas Tech. And he just never really had that spot locked down because he was hurt. It's not that he could really control in that fact. He was just hurt. That's just a simple fact. And it stinks, but that's what happened. But yeah, Anthony Brown, he ended up being the starter at Oregon, not replacing Tyler Shuck. Number 9, Matt Corral. Do I want to read all of the description? I don't really want to read the entire description here. But yeah, Matt Corral was fun at Ole Miss. That's the best way I can describe. Definitely was in the conversation of being the draft's top quarterback in that year's class. Definitely was. Like, he's battled some personal stuff in the NFL so far. He's playing for the Birmingham Stallions of the UFL at this point in time. He was a third-round draft pick. But at Ole Miss, he was fun. He was really fun. Like, he didn't really have the statistical value in his last year at Ole Miss as he did the year before. And that Ole Miss offense, we talked about with Jackson Dart, who also wore number 2 at Ole Miss, that's kind of scary. But Jackson Dart is a better quarterback than Matt Corral. It's just that it's a scary offense. It is scary. Number 8, Jaden Daniels. I've got to read this one. Number 8, Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is one of my favorite quarterbacks in college football. As a true freshman at Arizona State, Daniels put on an absolute show against the 6th-ranked Oregon Ducks, quarterbacked by NFL Rookie of the Year Justin Herbert. Not only did Daniels put on a show, he outplayed the future 6th overall pick. In a game, Daniels threw for a career-high 408 yards with 3 touchdowns while completing just under 70% of his passes, whereas Herbert threw 2 interceptions and threw for 104 yards less. Daniels can play the position very well. He's an athletic quarterback with a good arm and doesn't turn the ball over. Over his college career, Daniels has thrown just 3 interceptions. Where he struggles at times is accuracy, which is why I have him as lower than I'd like to. I think once Daniels gets his completion percentage up and puts a few more pounds on, we may be talking about a potential first-round draft pick. But at a generously listed 185, combined with his below-average completion percentage, may see him slip out of the first-round conversation for now. I have no doubt in my mind that Daniels will have a very good season, but for right now, I think it's only fair we rank him here at number 8. Jaden Daniels at that point in time, so when he was at Arizona State, he was I believe a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. And he came in Arizona State, was starting right away, and he did have some wayward passes. I think his biggest problem at Arizona State, and you saw this early in his LSU career, like the early portion, like I would say the first 5-6 games when he first transferred to LSU. It was not the second half of that season you started to see a change in him. He was looking to run first way more often than he was looking to pass. He was way more confident and comfortable with his legs than he was throwing the football. I mean, it's clear to see why. He's one of the most electrifying players in college football. That's why he won the Heisman Trophy. But that was one of the reasons why, but ultimately what won him the Heisman Trophy was how much he improved as a passer, which is why he became the 2nd overall pick in the draft. Like, Jaden Daniels always had the skill set to be a very, very good quarterback. He's always been good at not turning the ball over. He doesn't force the issue all too often. He did that in his early days at Arizona State. He continued to do that at LSU, and he's done it so far in the NFL. Rarely puts a foot wrong in regards to putting the ball in harm's way. But that run-first mentality was definitely something that was like, okay, can he develop as an overall passer? Because how many times have we seen that before? With a truly, truly, truly athletically gifted quarterback goes in and just is running the ball first before throwing it. Like, I want to see him how he's developed as a passer. And he ended up developing as a passer, transferring to LSU, and the rest is history. Number 7, oh boy, I need to take a sip of tea for this one. Oh man, Carson Strong. Carson Strong. Goodness gracious. Hey, Carson Strong was that dude at Nevada. Carson Strong was awesome. Romeo Doubs, Cole Turner at tight end, like those three were awesome. And if you say otherwise, you don't know Paul. Carson Strong was awesome. The problem is he had the knees of a 90-year-old that had been dead for 100 years. That was the knees that he had. He had Jason White syndrome, where he just couldn't move. He had no knees. I think he went undrafted. There's no reason, skill-wise, why Carson Strong should have gone undrafted. Yeah, he got undrafted in 2022, and he hasn't been on a roster because he's been an assistant coach at Nevada. This guy just had no knees. He had none of them. I don't know what it was, but yeah, he was under Jay Norvell as a volunteer assistant at Colorado State, and then joined Nevada staff. But yeah, announced his retirement from playing football in 2023, citing recurrent knee issues. That's why he went undrafted. Like, he had all the skills in regards to throwing the football. Big dude, 6'3", 226 pounds. Big dude, 36 touchdowns, 8 interceptions his last year at Nevada. Carson Strong was awesome. And I want you to go back and watch some Nevada highlights with Romeo Doubs and Cole Turner, with Carson Strong at quarterback. That last year at Nevada, you may not remember it, but that season, they were awesome. They were freaking sweet. Please watch that. Please. It's not crazy. At that time, it wasn't crazy to have Carson Strong above Jane Daniels and Tyler Shuck. It was not crazy. He was good. No, it's funny to look back at that one. Oh, God. I don't know why I had this guy, so I never liked this guy. JT Daniels was number 6. 5-star recruit. I think he was the second ever true freshman quarterback to start for USC. And then he got hurt. I think he tore his ACL his second year at USC. Keaton Slovis comes in, balls out, and then JT Daniels transfers down to Georgia after his dad said he's got a USC tattoo on his leg. He's not transferring, and he transferred. JT Daniels could not move. The thing is, like, Carson Strong wasn't the most athletically gifted dude in regards to like fleet-footedness and stuff like that, but JT Daniels was nowhere as big as Carson Strong and just could not move. I saw people calling him a meat statue. I think I actually wrote that in here, that he's a meat statue because he can't move. He's not that mobile. Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. This is like my Quinn Ewers thing, where I never really bought it, but I think this is around the time where, like, this is 2021. So I'm sure I was like, oh, well, some people were saying this, so I got to put him up here. Like, I think that might have been the case here. But yeah, he just wasn't that. I bet Keaton Slovis is on here, isn't he? Number 5, Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. Desmond Ridder was fun at Cincinnati. He looked like he was about 50 years old. He looked like Perry Ellis while at Kansas. That's what he reminded me of in regards to looks. Just looked like Perry Ellis. Just been there for freaking ever. He had a kid, like, old dude. And Cincinnati was a good team. Very, very good team. Luke Fickell as head coach. Like, they were a fun team. Like, 6'4", 215 pounds, really good arm, good athletic ability as well. Just not very good at the NFL. Just not. Like, the Falcons were like, oh, we're committed to Desmond Ridder. We're not going to try and sign or trade for Lamar Jackson. We're gonna stick with Desmond Ridder. And they did that, and that didn't get him anything. Desmond Ridder was not very good in Atlanta. He went down to Arizona, didn't do anything there, didn't even make the active roster, went to the Raiders, and he's not on a team anymore. Which stinks, but hey, that's sometimes what happens. Number 4, Keaton Slovis. Yeah, okay, I knew he was going to be on here. I liked Keaton Slovis a lot. I did. He was like a Joe Burrow type quarterback. At least that's what my hopes were. Very accurate quarterback. Could move, but he wasn't like, you wouldn't look at Keaton Slovis and go like, oh yeah, that guy's a plus athlete. That's not what you were thinking of him. But he could move when needed to. He could break off a couple decent runs in there. But he was the most traditional style pocket passer in this class. And that first year at USC, 3,500 yards, 30 touchdowns. And we just never got close to that ever again. Ever again. Never even sniffed it. Like the last 4 years in college, at USC, Pitt, and BYU, he didn't total over 17 touchdowns one time. He had 17 in 2020, battled some injuries there, and never got close to it ever since. 11 touchdowns the next year, 10 at Pitt, and then 12 at BYU. And the 10 at Pitt was really annoying because I was following Kenny Pickett. You're like, if Kenny Pickett can do that, we never saw Kenny Pickett do, up to that point, what Keaton Slovis did in his first year at USC, so why can't he do that here? And it just didn't. And now Jordan Addison going to USC, that did not help anything. Him following his girlfriend there did not help anything. But, yeah, he had a shoulder issue, got blown up by Iowa in the Holiday Bowl. Like, I was really hoping Keaton Slovis would be that dude at USC, and he just wasn't. He wasn't. It's unfortunate that it happened like that, but, yeah, he just wasn't that guy, pal. Sorry, he wasn't that guy. And what was funny, I'm looking at USC's roster, and he was a junior. Jackson Dart and Miller Moss were both on the roster at that point in time. That's kind of funny. Oh, then, okay, wait, hold on. Caleb Williams just transferred in, right? That's what happened. Yeah, then Caleb Williams came in. Yeah, I would probably leave too. I would probably leave too. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, Keaton's, that was a disappointing one. Again, you're in a 4.55 at the combine. This dude's not slow. Like, he just reminded me of Joe Burrow at that point in time. And it just never, shoulder problems, injuries, freaking Caleb Williams coming in. Like, look at this. His insane freshman season also saw Mater Dei star Bryce Young decommit from USC and sign with Alabama. Like, again, I've talked about that before. Bryce Young was committed to USC and then decommitted and went to Alabama. Keaton Slovis was that guy. Number 3, Malik Willis. Yeah, he was fun. He was just fun. He had an electrifying arm, really good athlete. Still carving out a decent career for himself at the NFL at this point. He's played some decent amount of games with the Packers last year. Like, he's a good, from all things considered, for what he might not be as an overall quarterback, he is a good dude. That's what it seems like anyways. He seems like a very down-to-earth person, and he was just easy to root for while at Liberty. And that was the problem. He played at Liberty, and you were never going to get, like, the talent that you could see there, you were like, okay, this guy could be a first-round draft. I think in my last mock draft that I had that year, he ended up being a first-round draft pick. I think I had him going to the Steelers. I think I had Pickett going to the Saints or something, and him going to the Steelers. I can't remember exactly. But Malik Willis, for what he had in regards to raw talent, the fact that he played at Liberty, like, it's a lot different looking at Malik Willis at Liberty and, let's say, somebody like Anthony Richardson at Florida. Like, it's a lot different to look at those two in those aspects. And to see some of the rawness that he had. Like, the Combine, he was awesome at the Combine. Everybody loved him at the Combine. But, yeah, he was number 3 on here. I think he was number 1 or 2 when the draft ended up rolling around. So that one's not too bad given the parameters of this specific draft class. But, yeah, he's just not. He was just all right. Number 2, Spencer Rattler. That was. I probably could have had him number 1. I could have very easily had him at number 1, but I just didn't like him. As, like, he cringed me out. And he was going to South Carolina at this point in time, I believe. Or was he? No, he was still at Oklahoma at this point in time. Yeah, a long description for Spencer Rattler. But, yeah, good athlete from the position, had a really twitchy arm, very Mahomes-esque, Jim? I'm not saying he was Patrick Mahomes, but he can make a lot of those styles of plays. But he was just so frustrating. He had talent, but you would look at him and you just leave your head scratching your head sometimes. Like, what kind of decision-making is this? Great ad-libber when he was on it, but when he wasn't, it was like you're making some really questionable plays, which is why he went to South Carolina when Caleb Williams took his job and eventually transferred over to USC. Like, he got benched in the Texas game back-to-back years. Like, he had the talent. It was just never realized at Oklahoma. He had some good success while at South Carolina. Has played a little bit in the NFL, not very well, but he has played. So, yeah, he's at number 2. And then Sam Howell was number 1. I liked Sam Howell at North Carolina. His top players all left him. Like, he had a very, very good season. Like, he had 3,500 yards, 30 touchdowns, improved his completion percentage, and improved his yards per attempt as well, or per yards per completion. The problem was Dammy Brown, Daz Newsome, Javonte Williams, and Michael Carter all left. Those are his top 2 running backs and top 2 receivers. Those guys all left. So Sam Howell did not have the same amount of people to work with that he did the season prior, so he became more of a runner than he was, developed way more of a running style than he ever had previously while at North Carolina. Like, I'm trying to get his stats pulled up from his senior year or his last year in North Carolina versus his second to last year at North Carolina. Yeah, he had 3,500 yards passing with 146 yards rushing in 2020. 2022, he had 3,000 yards passing with 6 less touchdowns and 828 rushing yards. He went from 146 rushing yards to 828 rushing yards because they had nobody. They lost everybody. Like, they had Chandler at running back, but apart from that, they didn't really have nobody to work with in there. Like, I'm looking at they had Josh Downs. Okay, they did have Josh Downs. I didn't realize they overlapped there. Okay, yeah, Josh Downs was his only real target. Josh Downs had 1,300 yards there. When I mean, Josh Downs didn't roll over with him. Obviously, he did. But, yeah, he was not QB1. None of those guys were the bee's knees when it was all said and done. None of those guys were. Like, in my honorable mention section, I had Alan Bowman, Malik Cunningham, Dylan Gabriel, which is funny, Phil Yurkovich from Boston College, Derek King from Miami, Grayson McCall, Bo Nix, Brock Purdy, and Spencer Sanders. So Kenny Pickett wasn't even in this blog post. He was the only quarterback taken in the first round. And Brock Purdy, at least I mentioned him. But yeah, that top 10, that's rough. But that's a year ago. Or a year ago. It was 4 years ago when I posted that. So now we're going to try the same thing again this year with 2026. This class I'm excited for. Because unlike this year's class, there could be a good run of quarterbacks going in the first round. So if I was placing money on it right now, I could make a bet and feel fairly comfortable in saying that I think there could be 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round next year. I think there could be 5. Now, it could be less given what one of those quarterbacks decides, because he's going to be the one that a lot of people are turning their attention to in regards to if he could come out or if he could stay in school and stuff. We'll talk about him obviously in a little bit. But there could be somewhere around 5 quarterbacks taken in this first round. As opposed to 1, there are 2, sorry, I forgot about Jackson Dart. 2 taken in this year's class. For comparison's sake, since 2010, only 3 drafts have seen 4 or more quarterbacks taken in the first round. That was 2018, 2021, and 2024. So those are the only quarterbacks we have seen that amount of those are the only drafts where we've seen that amount of quarterbacks go in the first round. And I'm saying that this year's class, or next year's class, I guess technically, could do something similar to those other classes. Because a lot of these teams that quote-unquote needed a quarterback, they are all looking towards next year. Or teams that may not need a quarterback directly are perfectly fine taking one next year rather than taking one this year. Like a team like the Steelers. If they get Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be their starter. But Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. You're going to want a long-term answer at the position. Getting a guy in the draft next year rather than wasting a first-round draft pick on somebody this year makes a lot more sense. It's a lot easier to part with Will Howard in the 6th round than it is for a first-rounder if you draft one this year. So you got to think ahead a little bit. The Rams, same exact thing. Like Matthew Stafford's getting older. Sean McVay is going to want his guy in there eventually. So getting a quarterback in this year's class would make a lot more sense than next year's class, unless they were targeting Jackson Dart. Which has been reported to a certain extent. Unless that was the case, then just waiting until next year is the smarter decision for you. Same with the Saints. Yes, they drafted Tyler Shuck in the 2nd round. I think Tyler Shuck could be good this year. But if he's not, parting ways with a 2nd round pick is a lot easier than parting ways with a 1st round pick. And because he's a little bit older, he'll be 26 in September, like we brought up 1,000 times before, you could actually keep him on the roster as a backup and be perfectly fine with doing that. Like, look at Kyle Trask. He's been a backup in Tampa Bay to both Tom Brady and Baker Mayfield. He was a 2nd round draft pick. He hasn't sniffed the field in Tampa Bay, but they keep him around. Like, there's crazier things that have happened there. Like the Browns. Who knows? I mean, I know they got Shedeur Sanders, the most talked about quarterback in this draft class, but he's a 5th round draft pick at the end of the day. They are not like stapling their future to him at this point in time and saying, oh my God, we got this 5th round draft pick. He's going to be our future. He could very well be that, but there's also reality where he's not because he's a 5th round draft pick and he doesn't get the opportunities. So they could draft a quarterback in the 1st round next year. Like there's so many opportunities for quarterbacks to go in the 1st round next year as opposed to this year. And it's an exciting class for sure. For sure. And before we get into the top 10, I want to go over the honorable mention section first. It's just 20 players in alphabetical order. I'll touch on a few of them. I'll read out their names, but I'll touch on a few of them a little bit more in depthly. So we got Luke Altmaier from Illinois, Jackson Darnold from Auburn, transfer from Oklahoma, Rocco Becht, who I have seen Bucky Brooks had him as an 8th rated quarterback for next year, and someone else from Fox Sports had him as the 18th overall pick in the draft of the Steelers. Rocco Becht's an interesting one, and I think we kind of talked about him last week, if I'm not mistaken. Rocco Becht is a guy that I would compare, not athletically, but he is a very similar thrower to that of Tyrod Taylor. In my mind, from what I remember, Tyrod Taylor, I say remember, he's still playing technically, but what I know of Tyrod Taylor, when he was in Buffalo, which is by far the best version of Tyrod Taylor, is the time he's the most consistent starter, Pro Bowler and all that stuff, Tyrod Taylor could throw a very pretty deep ball. He didn't have like the most insane arm in the world, but there are not a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL, I would even say now, as Tyrod Taylor's an older backup, that could throw a prettier deep ball than him in the entire league. It is beautiful. And for those of you who didn't watch him throw the deep ball while in Buffalo, I implore you to please go and watch that. Him throwing the deep ball to Sammy Watkins was awesome. It was a thing of beauty. Every single time. Timed perfectly. It wasn't like an absolute laser down the field, but it was perfect. And that's what Rocco Becht does. Rocco Becht throws a very, very good deep ball. He doesn't have like an absolute howitzer for an arm or anything, but he has a good arm, and he times the deep ball up well. And the other thing is, with Rocco Becht, he's a good athlete. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he can make plays on the ground when he needs to. I'm not saying he's looking to run really ever, but he can make plays with his feet when he's required. The only downsides to him is that he's not very big. He's not the biggest guy in the world. I'd say like 6'1", maybe. But the things that's going to benefit him is that the NFL seems to like Matt Campbell players. Like you look at Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins both getting drafted the first two rounds, or in round 2 and round 3. You got Will McDonald getting drafted the first round. We got Breece Hall getting drafted in the second round. Brock Purdy is a consensus top 20 quarterback in the NFL right now. Like someone who's been compared to Brock Purdy is Rocco Becht. Like there's a lot of things that are boosting him for that. And what's going to be an intriguing watch for him this year is the fact that Noel and Higgins are both gone. Like how you were great with them, you were good with them, but how are you going to be without them? I think my main issue with Becht, and I've watched a lot of Rocco Becht. I'm obviously from the state of Iowa, watch a decent amount of Iowa State football, not an Iowa State fan, but when they don't play Iowa, I don't necessarily have this burning hatred from where I can't be objective about what they're doing. I mean, I do videos once a year where I do a state of Iowa preview. I've done 2 for Iowa State. I think both of them have been fairly objective, I guess you could say, not hating towards anything. But Becht, he has moments where he steps up, like the end of games. UCF game is a prime example of this, where he steps up and he makes plays when they need him to. But there are other portions where, like the vast majority of the game, where you're looking at like, what are you doing? Like, why are you not playing like that the entire game? Like, I just felt there was a lot of inconsistencies with his games this year. Right? We'd have moments where he's like looking very, very good, and then we'd have moments where it's like, dude, aren't you supposed to be like the best quarterback in the Big 12, or at least one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12? Why are you making that type of play? And his numbers were good, and he put up good numbers, but there was just moments where I was like, I want more from Rocco Becht. And it's crazy to say that because he wouldn't have been the starter as early as he was if Hunter Dekkers didn't get busted for the gambling probe. Like, was he beating out Hunter Dekkers that year? I know a lot of Iowa State fans didn't really like Hunter Dekkers when he was there, but was he going to take Hunter Dekkers' job that year if he didn't get busted for that? I wouldn't say so. I mean, that first game against UNI, it was him or J.J. Cole as the starting quarterback. It wasn't Rocco Becht was the starter. He had to win that job. He wasn't given that job, so I can't sit here and go like, oh yeah, it would have been his job even if Dekkers was there, because he wasn't even guaranteed to start when Dekkers wasn't there. And Hunter Dekkers, if he didn't have that, he'd still be at Iowa State. Hunter Dekkers wasn't leaving for the NFL anytime soon. Maybe he would have transferred at some point, but he was going to be at Iowa State, so we might not have even seen Rocco Becht. Now, that's not saying anything for his current draft stock, but I think it's just something a little bit interesting to look at. But it wouldn't shock me, because again, the NFL seems to like Matt Campbell players. I just don't think he's a first-round guy. at this point. Would it shock me? Yeah, I think it would shock me at this point in time. I think he's a good player, but I think he's a round 3 kind of guy. That's what I would say. I don't know. I do think the Brock Purdy thing, I think that will weigh a lot. I think that will weigh heavily on people. Even though he has no direct connection to Brock Purdy apart from playing at Iowa State. Like, they never played together. They were never on the roster together, as far as I can remember anyways. That's where the connection is. Like Derek Carr and David Carr. David Carr fell in the second round because nobody wanted to think, they thought he was going to be like Derek Carr, who's drafted first overall by the Texans. Like, he has no correlation with David Carr, apart from these brothers, but they're not the same person. He fell because of that. So maybe by proxy, bets could get boosted up because of Brock Purdy. I don't know. But he also got Aiden Childs from Michigan State. Very talented player. Very raw player. Very inconsistent player. But he's got talent. Jalen Daniels from Kansas. Kyron Drones from Virginia Tech. Noah Fafita from Arizona. Smaller quarterback, but can make a lot of really good throws. Interesting to see how he'll be without Tedero McMillan there. Mark Gronowski from Iowa. I'm not even trying to be funny with Mark Gronowski, because sometimes I'll throw like a little Iowa player just to throw him in there, just for the sake of throwing him in there. But Mark Gronowski, let's not forget what he did at South Dakota State, and that he was a potential prospect. I'm not going to say he was like going to be a high draft pick or anything this year if he came out, but he was talked about as getting drafted this past year. Like 2 national championships at South Dakota State, few conference titles in there. Like, he put up great numbers, was super consistent throughout his entire time there. And unlike Cade McNamara, Mark Gronowski is the truck. He's not the trailer. Cade McNamara is the trailer. Like, Mark Gronowski is the truck that's going to pull the team along. I think he very well could be a not high draft pick. He could be drafted. I'm not saying he's going to be a first-round draft pick or anything. I don't think that. But he could be a guy that gets drafted round 5. That wouldn't shock me. If I had to place money on it right now for the state of Iowa guys, I would say Bet gets drafted in the 3rd round. I would say Gronowski gets drafted in the 5th, 6th round. That would be my guess. That's what my gut is telling me right now. It's gonna be wrong, obviously. But you got Eli Holstein from Pitt, Nico Iamaleava from UCLA. Sorry, he has the talent to be higher than this. Obviously, like, if we're going pound for pound talent, he might be the most talented quarterback in this class. Maybe. I shouldn't say that. We've got a couple guys up there, top 5. They're pretty damn talented. But 5-star recruit coming out of high school, he had every reason to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football while at Tennessee. Every reason. I mean, freaking Josh Heupel got Joe Milton look like a good quarterback. Hendon Hooker was the backup to Joe Milton before Milton got hurt, and then Hendon Hooker came in and was a Heisman candidate before he got hurt. Like, Hendon Hooker was not this all-star transfer quarterback from Virginia Tech. Like, he was a good quarterback, but he didn't even come in and win the starting job and got turned into a draftable prospect. Same with Joe Milton, was a draftable prospect. Josh Heupel's offense is very quarterback-friendly, and Nico had spurts, but they were so few and far between, they were like, I don't know how good he actually is. Like, he's 6'6", he's got a good arm, he's decently athletic as well, but this whole, like, NIL thing is very intriguing, and we went on that ad nauseum a few weeks ago, or probably a month ago now, when that whole thing first kicked off. Like, he had no reason to be asking for that much of a quote-unquote pay raise or contract restructure, however you want to word that, based off what he did as a player last year. And going to UCLA, I don't really see a reality where UCLA is that good this year. They were all right last year. They got their ass clapped in the non-conference games and early in the conference. And they started racking some wins together. Ethan Garbers was fine this past year. But I just don't think, like, if we're looking at talent-wise, yes, he should be a top 10 guy. But I just don't see the team he's on putting him in a spot at this point that says he should be a top 10 quarterback in the draft. It's kind of like Spencer Rattler to me. It's kind of like when Spencer Rattler transferred to Oklahoma. Or to South Carolina, sorry. They're not the same players at all. Spencer Rattler is like a foot shorter than Nico. But to go from as hyped as you were coming out to what we saw you at, in a very quarterback-friendly system, and that wasn't anywhere near what we expected, to now seeing you transfer to a school that's not going to probably be very good, that's where I'm kind of looking at it like, I don't think I can put him in the top 10 right now. If you have him in the top 10, hell, if you even have him in top 5, I can understand your process in that. I just don't share the same thinking at this point in time with that. We also got Avery Johnson from Kansas State. We got Haynes King, who was a lot better statistically than a lot of people may have realized last year throwing the ball for Georgia Tech. Jay Maeva from USC. Dante Moore from Oregon, transferred from UCLA last year, is going to be the starter there now that Dylan Gabriel's gone. Miller Moss transferred in to Louisville. Malachi Nelson, I'm going to be 100% honest here. I only put him on here for name recognition. This dude transferred to Boise State as a 5-star, couldn't beat out the 5'0" Maddox Madsen. Like, I'm not really high on Malachi Nelson. Let's not get it twisted here. But he does have talent, and he's at UTEP, so he can't really do that bad. I don't think. I don't know. I'm not even going to talk about that. I guess. Kane Salter at Colorado, transfer from Liberty. I like Kane Salter. I like what I saw from him at Liberty, and I'm excited to see what he does at Colorado. Ty Simpson from Alabama. I think he's going to be the starter. I'm not guaranteeing any. I haven't seen anything like Alabama confirming their starting quarterback or anything. But Ty Simpson, I mean, if you're the starting quarterback for Alabama, you have a very good chance to get drafted. I'm not sitting here and saying he's going to be a first-round draft pick or anything. I haven't seen enough of Ty Simpson. I remember seeing him in the USF game when it was a downpour, when Alabama was still trying to figure out between Milroe, Tyler Buchner, and Ty Simpson. So I don't really know 100% stuff about. He's a completely different quarterback to that of Jalen Milroe, which I think fits Kalen DeBoer's offense more, weirdly. Even though Jalen Milroe is vastly more talented than him, I think Ty Simpson does fit what Kalen DeBoer and now Ryan Grubb want to do. That's the only reason I think I'm not going to put in freaking Gunnar Stockton. I know if you play for Georgia, like a big time program, your chance to get drafted higher. Gunnar Stockton, I really doubt gets highly drafted. I could be wrong. I could be wrong there. And then Connor Wegman at Houston. He's got talent. Connor Wegman has talent. But that first game against Notre Dame last year, I know he missed a lot of time the season prior due to a foot injury, but to see what he did against Notre Dame, it was like he never really stepped foot on a football field before. It felt like Texas A&M was the away team, given how he played, and not at their own stadium that seats 110,000 people. Like, that's what it felt like watching that Week 1 game against Notre Dame. And he never really recovered from that. He got ultimately benched towards the middle part of the season. I think it was against LSU, actually, where he officially got benched. But he transferred down to Houston, so hopefully that gives him a little bit of a career resurgence. They had a talented quarterback last year in Donovan Jackson. They had Chris there as well. So Wegman's really talented. It's just a matter of if he can actually string it together and be confident in that. Because I think that's what he struggled with a lot last year. But he's got talent. But yeah, I'd say the closest to entering the top 10 here would be Nico. He would be the closest out of all these guys on here. And if I had to give 5, so I would say Nico, I would say Rocco Becht would be in that conversation as well. I would say Miller Moss from Louisville would be in there. I'm not the biggest fan of Miller Moss, but I do think in Louisville's system with the Braun brothers there, I think he could do well. I mean, we saw what they did with Tyler Shuck this past year. Miller Moss, is he as good or better than Tyler Shuck was when he came in? I don't know. I didn't like Miller Moss that much while he was at USC, so let's see what he does now at Louisville. Taylon Green from Arkansas is a very interesting prospect as well because if we're just talking about traits, he's got all of them. He's like 6'6", transferred in from Boise State. He's got a lot of physical traits that are very desirable. And then at 6'6", 230 pounds, can move. Like, he's a fun quarterback if he can string everything together. So I would put him in that conversation as well. And then I know we brought up Dante Moore in the last one. He could be in that conversation, but I'm probably going to say either Dante Moore or Noah Fafita or Wegman. So one of those guys. I don't know which one, but I would definitely say Nico, Rocco Becht, Miller Moss, and who's the last one I said? Taylor and Green. I think those are the next 4 in no particular order, and then one of Dante Moore, Connor Wegman, and Noah Fafita would be the last ones in there out of those guys. But number 10 on this list, I have Sawyer Robertson from Baylor. I could see Sawyer Robertson being higher than this. Sawyer Robertson, 6'4". He's 220 pounds. He's 22 years old. He transferred in from Mississippi State a year ago and was the backup last year, and then was the backup going into this year because they brought in Daquan Finn from Toledo. Daquan Finn was a very electric quarterback while playing for Toledo, a very big dual threat quarterback, not very big, but a dual threat quarterback, and he struggled against Utah, got hurt. Sawyer Robertson came in against Air Force and basically took the starting job from him, and they lost 3 games on the bounce. Now, they did play some good teams in there. They played Colorado, BYU, and Iowa State, and 2 of those 3 games were on the road, and 2 of those games were against top 25 opponents as well. Iowa State fits both those categories. So it was a tough stretch, but then after that, they rounded off 6 straight wins, made a bowl game against LSU, struggled in the bowl game, but Sawyer Robertson made some big throws throughout the course of that game, despite them losing. LSU is just they're on a different level than Baylor. They just are. They're too fast for them. And Garrett Nussmeier made some really ridiculous throws throughout the course of the game, and Baylor just couldn't keep up. Like, Sawyer Robertson threw an interception in the game. The interception bounced off his running back's face on a screen pass, and it got intercepted in return for a touchdown. Like, that's the kind of situation that Baylor was dealing with there. Sawyer Robertson, he's a former baseball player, so you know he can do all the different drop arm angles and stuff like that. He's a good athlete, can pick up decent gains on the ground when he needs to. He's got a good arm. His deep ball is kind of inconsistent at times in regards to sometimes he takes a little bit too much off of it, so the receivers have to work their way back, which I will say is not always a bad thing, because one thing you're always taught when you're younger is that if you're going to miss them short, because they can always slow down. You can't speed up. Once you've reached top speed, you can't get any faster than that. You can always slow down. So if you're going to miss them, try to miss them short. Not miss them. Like if there's a defender on, obviously miss them long because the defender can't catch it then. But if they're wide open, just don't miss them. So underthrow it so they don't. I hope that makes sense. I don't know. But Sawyer Robertson against LSU, 445 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Again, a pick, and there's not ideal. But made some tight window throws, made some tough throws in that game as well. Had some good throws against Iowa State in there as well. Against Kansas, he was lighting them up. I think he threw for he had 26 of 31 or something like that with 4 touchdowns. Like, he puts forth some very, very solid performances. Baylor does run a lot of, they're not bubble screens, like pop screens, where the receiver's just on the sideline. I don't know what the exact phrasing would be. I'm forgetting. I'm having a brain fart right now. But they would throw a lot of those in there. But he's got the potential and the ceiling to be a potential guy that could sneak into the first round. It really wouldn't shock me. I mean, 6'4", 220 pounds, can move, can do all the different angles with his arm and stuff like that, can hit tight windows. He had a good back shoulder ball against LSU as well in the bowl game. Like, he can make these throws. It's just a matter of if he can stay consistent throughout the entire year. Now he's the full-time starter with Baylor. Baylor's going to have a little bit more expectation on him. They didn't start off the greatest last year, so what are they going to be this year? But I have him coming in at number 10. He could be higher. Number 9 is John Mateer from Oklahoma. I know he's at number 9, but John Mateer, dark horse, I don't know if this is a dark horse at this point, could be a Heisman guy. Because if we're talking about just electric factory from the quarterback position, John Mateer is that. At Washington State this past year, in the Pac-2, he threw for 3,100 yards, 29 touchdowns, also had 826 yards on the ground with 15 rushing touchdowns. He is a natural dual-threat quarterback, and he could be higher, but he's 6'1", 219 pounds. Again, he can be a little erratic at times. He's just a gamer. I think that's the best way to describe him. He's an absolute gamer. He is going to try and make plays for his team, sometimes to the detriment, but he's always going to be up for it. He's never going to shy away from anything. But the problem is as well, like we kind of talked about with Malik Willis before, he didn't really play a lot of great teams this past year, and that goes down to, again, Washington State being in the Pac-2 with Oregon State. The whole Pac-12 disbanded apart from those two, so they were playing a bunch of non-conference games the entire year against a bunch of who's, like San Jose State, New Mexico. They were not playing their usual team, so we didn't really get to see the best version of John Mateer against those style teams. But we'll get that Oklahoma. Believe me, Oklahoma's got a tough schedule this year. So if he's as good as that, then Oklahoma's going to be a serious team. If he performs like he did last year at Washington State, he'll be crazy. But against San Jose State, we brought them up. 490 yards, 4 touchdowns. Did throw 2 picks in the game. Also had 111 yards rushing in the game as well as a rushing touchdown. Double overtime win. Like, he is very good at rolling out to outside the pocket, both to the left and right. He's got a very quick release. And he doesn't have like a insane arm, but he's got a very good arm, strong arm. And he compares to, ironically, 2 guys from Washington State and Oklahoma, Cam Ward, who he sat behind for 2 years, and Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. That's what he reminds me of. And if he's able to put forth some consistent performances, do what we saw at Washington State against people in the SEC with his offensive coordinator. His offensive coordinator went down to Oklahoma as well, and quarterback coach. So that's why he's there. He could be a problem. He could be a real problem. But that fact, again, didn't play a lot of great teams this year, and he can be a little erratic at times, which is really fun, but it's scary at times as well. So I'm a little bit lower on this list, but he's super talented. Super, super talented. Number 8, Carson Beck. He's back. Carson Beck is back. Now he's at Miami. He did not have a good year last year. Based off what we saw from him going into the draft, or into the year, to what he ended up being, complete 180. I saw somebody talk about this today. If he got hurt, or or if he faked an injury, week 1, through 10 passes, he would have been a first-round draft pick. He would have. The amount of people talking about Carson Beck being a first, including myself. I'm not sitting here and saying I'm absolved in this. He would have been a first-round draft pick. If he didn't play, he would have been a first-round draft pick. Like, there was so much hype building for him going into last season. I had him as quarterback 1 going into the season. And he did not live up to that at all. He had a fairly decent game against Clemson week 1, but that Alabama game, what was it, 3 or 4 interceptions? He had a fumble. He also had a safety with an intentional grounding penalty. Like, I commend him for bouncing back in that game and putting forth an excellent performance at the end. Not excellent, but a good performance at the end of the game. Get them back into that. But we did not really see a lot of very consistent performances from him. It was like the last 3 games of the season against like Massachusetts, Georgia Tech, and I can't remember who the other school was in there. Those are your games where you're like, okay, he's playing really, really good football right now. But he struggled mightily throughout like 90% of the season. Maybe 90 is a little rough. 70% of the season. And there were people talking about like, oh, it's the lack of run game. Oh, it's the fact that he doesn't have Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers. Like, even there was reports of him coming out and saying stuff like that. Like, Georgia couldn't establish a running game. And I know that's probably rubbed some people the wrong way. This whole transfer from Georgia to Miami is an interesting one there as well, because not a lot of people were expecting it. And I wish he would have just stayed at Georgia, if I'm being selfish. But, I mean, it's hard not to look at what he could do at Miami and go, okay, this could be fun. But the problem is, he's not as talented as Cam Ward. Raw talent, he's not as talented as Cam Ward. So I'm intrigued to see what he does. And they don't have Elijah Arroyo. They don't have Xavier Restrepo. So there's 2 big players, wide receiver and tight end, that he doesn't have here either, like he didn't have at Georgia. Now, Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers are first and second round draft picks. Arroyo, I don't remember what round he went, but Restrepo went undrafted, thanks to that 40-yard dash that he had at his pro day. Thanks in large part to his pro day. So we'll see what Carson Beck does here. The ups and downs from what he did last year is definitely rubbing some people the wrong way going into this year's draft. And John Mateer, Sawyer Robertson, I could see a reality when they both go before him. Because I do think there's some things Carson Beck does that could rub people the wrong way. And I would not be shocked if he fell because of that. Like, he could be a later round draft pick than what he probably should be, given what his talent is, or talent says he could be. Number 7, I have Sam Leavitt from Arizona State. Kind of similar to John Mateer. He's a gamer. That's the best way I can describe him. But the thing with, with Sam Leavitt, I don't think anybody was talking about him or Arizona State till about week 10. And that was when the main reason people started looking at Arizona State, this is from what I can gather, is when Desmond Howard went on ESPN, it was basically, why are we talking about Arizona State? Then everybody started looking at Arizona State and was like, wow, okay, this is actually a pretty solid football team. And then Cam Scadaboo started making the runs everywhere. And then ESPN had him on every freaking college game day for the rest of the season. Cam Scadaboo. Cam Scadaboo. But then we saw them beat the brakes off of Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game. We saw them take Texas to double overtime. Come back in that game and take Texas to double overtime. That's what got people on notice about Arizona State. And Scadaboo being gone is going to be very interesting for the rest of the Sun Devils to see how they balance without him, because he was so vital to how they worked as a team. He not only as a runner, but as a pass catcher. He was the second leading receiver on Arizona State last year. Their leading receiver was out the game against Texas, which was massive. I think he missed the Iowa State game as well, but I'm not 100% sure. But Sam Leavitt, it's just not having that running. I think that goes a little bit not as talked about as what it probably should in regards to a quarterback's development from year 1 to year 2 as a starter. Because remember, he transferred in from Michigan State. Having that consistent guy in the backfield like Scadaboo, to going from that to not having him to now, Arizona State was predicted to finish dead last in the Big 12 last year. They had negative expectations. First year in the Big 12. Negative expectations. Nobody was looking at him. Again, until Desmond Howard said something on ESPN about why are we talking about them, not a lot of people are talking about Arizona State. Now, all the eyes are on you. All the eyes are on you. This is like Quinn Ewers this past year at Texas. Like, Xavier Worthy left, Adonai Mitchell left, Jonathan Brooks left, Jatavian Stewart left. Now it's on you. Now all the eyes are on you now. So let's see how I think Sam Leavitt is more talented than Quinn Ewers. I do think he is. He's got a good arm. He's a great athlete as well. Like against Texas, the Quinn Ewers' team broke off some big runs in that game. Like he had one run that went for 28 yards. He had a big time run, I think, on 4th and 16 or something like that. Or was it? What was the down and distance? I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. What was I'm trying to remember what the play was. Did I not put it in here? 3rd and 14. Sorry, not 4th and 6. 3rd and 14. 3rd and 14. Picking up a 16-yard gain or 17-yard gain on the ground to get them down to near the goal line. Now, obviously, they didn't end up scoring, if I'm not mistaken, from that point. But that, I think, I can't remember. I'm blanking a little bit on that Texas-Arizona State game in general. But he can make some plays in the ground game. He's very good at rolling out to the pocket, and he does not turn the ball over. Unlike Mateer, he's not as frivolous when he's letting go of the ball. He had only 5 turnover-worthy throws last year. Only 5. It was joint 3rd least in the nation last year. He does not push the ball in harm's way, rarely ever. And that's not something you usually get from a quarterback that wants to make plays off script as much as Sam Leavitt does, where he starts to roll out the pocket a little bit and can make great throws while on the run. Like 5 turnover-worthy throws last year. That's really impressive. And then that mobility that we're talking about, that shows with the pocket awareness as well and pocket mobility. That's almost more important than him being a great athlete and running and picking up 20-yard gains on the ground. Like his ability to maneuver the pocket and slide with the protection, I think is very important. John Mateer, same thing. Like Sam Leavitt, he's not a big dude. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, but he's 20 years old. All the eyes are going to be on him this year. Arizona State's going to be one of the favorites going into the Big 12 season this year. If he does well, he could be one of those first-round guys. Number 6. Let me take a quick sip here. I have Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, formerly of Cal. I liked what I saw from Fernando Mendoza last year. The first game I watched him was against Miami last year with that game against Cam Ward. He can make some good throws. He's got a very, very good... This is what my opinion was from last year. Now that I've got him now a full year under my belt, he's got a very strong arm. He's got good size as well, 6'5", 225 pounds. He's only 21 years old as well. 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions last year, 3,000 yards. Didn't play in the bowl game, didn't play the last game of the regular season due to he missed the last game of the regular season due to an illness, and then he missed the bowl game because he entered the transfer portal. And Cal's got a very blasé offense. I mean, that's the best way you could describe it. They're not going to do anything like super extravagant, but going to Kurt Cignetti in Indiana, bringing his number 1 receiver from a year before, this dude could be a monster. in the Big Ten. He could be a monster. He could break off some big runs. Like there was a game against Stanford. They had to come back in that game. They were down 14-0 early in that game. He breaks off a 50-yard run to get them all the way down to from their own 18-yard line all the way to the other side of the 50 from Stanford. Made some serious throws throughout the course of the game. Could fit the ball in very tight windows. Has very good pocket awareness, which is a very important thing on here. But the arm strength, the size, that's what we all want here. That's what, like, he was one of the top 3 passers in the ACC, or one of the top 5 passers in the ACC. That was a conference that featured Cam Ward, Kyle McCord, Cade Klubnik, and Tyler Shuck. And he was in that conversation in regards to the numbers that he put up last year. Like, he has one of the top arms in the draft. He has very, very good timing. He has a very big release as well. Very explosive release. The ball leaves his hand really, really quick. Solid athlete. Again, can pick up the first downs when need to, can break off some 20-yard gains when required to. Not necessarily saying he's looking to do that often, but he maneuvers the pocket very well as well. He could be a first-round guy. He very well could be. That size, the age range that he has, the explosiveness in his arm that he has, the decent athleticism, playing in an offense that is very quarterback-friendly, he could be a lot of fun. He could be a lot of fun there while playing for Curt Cignetti. Number 5, I have Cade Klubnik. Klubnik is the most accurate quarterback when throwing outside the numbers. I don't know what kind of metric that is, but if you're throwing a ball outside of the hashes, outside of the numbers, Cade Klubnik will hit that damn near every single time. It's pretty much like he's standing on the ground and he just throws the ball straight down. And the ball's going to hit the ground every single time. That's pretty much what it's like when he starts throwing outside the numbers. I don't know what it is with it, but he's so effortless with it. And he's a plus athlete as well. He's not like the greatest, like Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson level athlete, but the dude can make a lot of throws on the run, can make a lot of plays on the run. And there were some times at Clemson this past year where he rolls out to his left, has to stop his motion and tuck it under the defender. We saw that against Texas in the college football playoff this year. Like, that's what we like to see. Cade Klubnik might not be he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, don't get me wrong, but you hear the name Cade Klubnik, it's not really something that gets you all excited to watch some highlights of Cade Klubnik. And I think Clemson just in general is not really a team that a lot of people are going to right now and saying, "Oh, I need to watch some Clemson football." At least this might just be me. This might just be me, but he's one of the best pocket maneuverers in this entire draft class. He has a really strong arm. He's a good athlete. He can make a lot of throws from the pocket while also being able to maneuver the pocket and roll out to the left and right, stop on a dime, cut back, make throws across the middle again, really accurate across the numbers. Might need to be a little bit more anticipatory in regards to that aspect of it, but when everything's clicking, he's good. He's good. So he comes in at number 5. Number 4 is Lenore Sellers from South Carolina. He is this year's super athlete, big quarterback, good arm. Like, he is the guy that everybody wants to be good, and I want him to be good. He's 6'3", 242 pounds. He's 19 years old. 19 years old. He has all the tools you look for in a quarterback. It's just a matter of, can we get it fully consistently? We had moments at South Carolina where oh my God, this guy is freaking awesome. And he could be awesome this year. He could continue to be awesome because Shane Beamer, I like the offense that they're running over there. And he signed a new NIL deal and stuff like that this past year against Missouri. Yes, he had a not great interception there where we think the defender kind of blocked his vision or maybe threw off the timing of his pass or everything there. But he has an incredibly strong arm. Incredibly strong arm. Out of these top 5 quarterbacks, he's the best athlete. It's not really that close in there. He broke 47 tackles this past season. Like, when he gets in the open field, not only is he electric as hell, he's damn hard to tackle. He's so freaking big. So he forced a shit ton of missed tackles this past year. The only problem is that he forced the ball a little bit. Sometimes lead to some interceptions. He also has some fumbling issues, which is not great. He had 11 fumbles last year, which led the nation for quarterbacks. That's not great. Those are 2 areas that he's definitely going to need to improve on. But this is what we talked about. In regards to tool set, there are not a lot of quarterbacks in this class that can boast a better tool set than him. Arm strength plus athleticism plus size plus age plus conference, which is going to weigh for some people out there, he's got a lot of very enticing tools. It's just a matter of can we lower the forcing the ball a little bit? Can we clean up the fumbles a little bit? But if he can get everything circled up, there's no doubt in my mind that if he does all of that, not only could he be... Cade Klubnik started the first-round conversation. Lenore Sellers and Cade Klubnik, I think, are first-round guys. But he could be a first overall draft pick if he cleans that stuff. Klubnik, I think, could be a first overall draft pick. Like, I struggled so much with the order of this top 5. And number 3, this might be mean. I have Arch Manning at number 3. And I'm going to be 100% honest here. The only reason that I have him at 3 is because he's not played that much. He's started 2 games, I think, against Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the only 2 games he started. We saw him in games last year. We saw him in the game against Georgia, unfortunately. We saw him come in to make running plays on offense, but we didn't see a bunch of... He only threw 90 passes last year. Like, I know from a talent standpoint, there are not a lot of quarterbacks more talented than him, but he only threw 90 passes. Like, I can't put him at number 1 off of that, if that makes sense. Like, just for comparison's sake, Lenore Sellers threw 299 passes last year, and he's number 4. Like, he threw 209 more passes, and that's just him. Like, Cade Klubnik threw 486 passes last year. Like, I cannot put him at... I could justify with ease why he's number 1. Easily. But I feel bad because I just haven't seen him play that consistently yet. I think he's way better than Quinn Ewers. And he's way better than Quinn. That's why they told Quinn Ewers to get the hell out of town. Transfer, go to the NFL. We don't care. Just as long as you're not here. Go somewhere else. And he did. Because of Arch Manning. Arch Manning's got a great arm. He's 6'4", 225 pounds. He is the most athletic Manning out of the Eli and Peyton tree that we've ever seen. Is not even close. Cooper Manning was a wide receiver. He clearly got the athleticism from his dad. Because Arch would come in and make athletic, and even Archie. Archie was a fantastic athlete for the New Orleans Saints back to the day. Go and watch some Archie Manning plays for the New Orleans Saints and see how much he's running around trying to make plays for one of the most dog shit teams in that time. And maybe just NFL history. The Aints, like, they're a rough team to watch back then. Until Drew Brees got there, they were a really rough team to watch in general. But Archie Manning tried to make them as watchable as possible, and he made a lot of very athletic plays for them. Arch, very similar in that aspect. Great arm in there as well. Like, he's probably, if he comes out, he'll probably be the number 1 overall pick at this point in time. In Steve Sarkisian's offense, I have a terribly hard time believing he's not going to absolutely explode this year. But there's a lot of people talking about him not coming out this year. So that's another reason why. So why would I put a guy at number 1 who, 1, I've only seen throw 90 passes, and 2, might not even come out in this year's class? If he gets to number 1, then he gets to number 1. But there could be a very real reality where he just goes back to school. Shedeur Sanders went back to school. Like, when people were talking about him being a top-level prospect, Quinn Ewers went back to school and he was being talked about a top-level prospect. Like, it wouldn't shock me either way, and it wouldn't shock me at the end of the day if Arch Manning ended up taking QB1 spot in this year's draft. He probably will. On paper, he's the most talented quarterback in this draft class. But the 90 passes, the fact that I don't know if he'll come out or not, I have him at number 3. And that's not me being mean. That's me being, I almost didn't have him in here at all. Because, again, I've seen a lot of people talk about he's staying in college. So we'll have to see. Number 1 and 2, I rotated about 1,000 times. I probably will rotate again. And if you listen to last week's show, you kind of know where I'm going with this. It's Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller at number 1 and 2. I have Nussmeier at 2 right now and Aller at 1. And the main reason why I have Aller 1 and Nussmeier 2 is because Nussmeier is 6'2", 200 pounds. That is my main reason why I have them at lower than Aller. Like, Nussmeier is an inch taller than me. And he's as big as me, pretty much. Aller's 6'5", 238. And I'm not saying here like that's the overriding reason why, but that is definitely a reason why I did that. Nussmeier is the most anticipatory thrower in this draft class. And it's not really close, in my humble opinion. There are times last year where the receiver is covered up completely by a defender and he lets the ball go, and all of a sudden that receiver's wide open. And you're like, how the hell did he get open? Because he threw him open. He's a decent athlete as well. I know he had negative 38 yards on the ground last year, but he's another gamer. He'll roll out to either side, and he will try to pick up first downs if he needs to running the ball. It's not going to be the prettiest looking running motion ever, but he's going to dive for first downs. He's going to fight for every single yard out there. He's a gunslinger. Like, from every sense of the word, Garrett Nussmeier is a gunslinger. That's why you see 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. And you have games like against Ole Miss, where statistically he went 22 of 51. But he made some ridiculous throws in that game as LSU went on to beat Ole Miss in overtime. But games against Alabama, games against Texas A&M, they weren't great. He made some ridiculous, like we talked about earlier, he made some ridiculous throws against Baylor in the Texas Bowl. He can make some of the most ridiculous throws in this draft class. And he's just got he's a gunslinger. He's like Brett Favre. Not exactly like Brett Favre, obviously, but he's like that mentality. He will throw the ball where if he is confident with every single throw he makes. There's not a single throw I've seen Garrett Nussmeier make where he didn't look like he was the most confident dude on the planet. That's what he is. And I love him for that. And he could very easily be QB1 in this draft class, but I put Drew Aller on there. Drew Aller's ceiling might be the highest out of any quarterback in this draft class. And it's kind of funny the opinions that derive on Drew Aller on social media. Like, just for a study, let's just do this right now. I'm going to search Drew Aller on Twitter. And we're just going to see what pops up. We're going to see everything that pops up. Let's see some good stuff on here. I thought this guy was he said he's trying to be, the way people are talking about Drew Aller for next year's draft, why didn't he come out this year? I'm not asking to be an asshole, legit wonder. I thought he was being an asshole. Why did he come out this year then? Draft Twitter has never watched Drew Aller play football. That was another take someone had on here. Where's something else? Come on, this is kind of lame. I was on here earlier today, and there was people talking about like crazy on here. Joel Klatt is great the same way Drew Aller is. He's somehow able to remain employed despite all the bad picks. One of the five college. Oh, never mind. That was the one that was defending Drew Aller. Come on. I don't think anyone that's hyping Drew Aller actually watched him play. Only good throws that just so happens to be the only good throws. No, I think the people that say Drew Aller stinks actually have never watched Drew Aller play. Because I said this after the Ohio State game. The Ohio State game was a good example of that. Because what week was that? That was, I want to say like week 7, maybe? Hold on. I think it was week 7 or 8, I think. Hold on, I'm scrolling through my blog post right now. Just to make sure. No, okay, so it was earlier than week 7. Was it week 6? Come on, where was that? No, that was UCLA. So it was later. He made some good throws against UCLA as well. Week 10? I'm sorry. This is not what I was planning to do, but I'm trying to prove a point. Sorry. There we go. Yeah, Drew Aller made some good plays against Ohio State. Despite the fact that he went 12 of 20, 146 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. He got them down to the goal line to end both halves. The first half, he threw an interception, and if you go, he threw an interception right at the goal line or in the red zone, you didn't see the interception. And the fact that the ball, if we're being 100% honest here, was placed in a really good spot and is in the receiver's hands initially. The receiver has his hands on the ball, bobbles it, and then the defender comes away with the interception in the end zone right before halftime. Like, if that was a touchdown instead of an interception, we're talking about one of the better throws from this past season. But we didn't get that because it happened to end in the arms of the defender. Drew Aller is very calm normally when pressure is breaking down all around him. He's very calm. He maneuvers I know we've brought this up quite a bit, but when you're talking about the top quarterbacks in a draft class, I want them to be able to maneuver the pocket. I don't want them to be statues. I don't want them to look flustered in the pocket. Drew Aller rarely looks flustered. You saw that against Oregon. And one of the throws he had towards the end of the game, which was a touchdown pass, I believe it was on fourth down, there's defenders literally dragging on his jersey while he lets the ball go and delivers a strike for a touchdown. You look at the game against Ohio State, rolling out to his right, stepping up in the pocket, fakes the handoff, steps in the pocket. He had he had a linebacker coming off the edge, steps up, rolls out to his right, has another defender jump on his guys. Caleb Downs jump up in his face and delivers a ball back to the left side of the field, right to the receiver. Like, that's what you want from your quarterbacks. I want to see those throws. And he's such an effortless thrower. Like, he has the best arm in this class, bar none. Like, it's not even really close on who has the best arm in this class. And yes, there are some plays Drew Aller makes that your head scratch your head a little bit. He's still raw. He's still a raw prospect. I think that if he came out this year, we said this during the season. After the Big Ten championship game, where it was kind of getting closer around the SMU game, where it was like, oh, he's going to go back to college. It was like, if he came out this year, he could have been the second overall pick in the draft of the Cleveland Browns. Like, he could have been that guy. It was like J.J. McCarthy. There was the big conversation about McCarthy. Like, he could come out this year, be a top 10 pick. He could come out next year, be a number one overall pick. It's kind of the same thing. Like, Aller could be that this year. He's raw. He's going to need some more time to develop. But if you look at the traits that he has and see some of the throws he makes and how he's able to maneuver the pocket and pick up good gains on the ground, like, he's not a plus athlete at all. I'm not sitting here and saying, like, he's this insane athlete or anything. But he can make runs and pick up good gains. I'm not saying he's breaking off 50-yard runs like Mendoza earlier, or he's making defenders miss like freaking Sam Levitt against Texas. Like, he's not doing that stuff, but he's able to pick up these like 7, 8, 9-yard gains where Penn State needs a first down, and he's able to pick that up with his feet. He has some inconsistencies as a passer. Yes, everybody knows that. But to sit here and just say he's bad, that just proves to me you've never actually sat down and watched him play. That's why I said this before the Big Ten Championship game. It's like, I'm so excited to watch the Big Ten Championship game because now people are actually going to watch Drew Aller play. And everybody was talking about how he looked as a player. But if you didn't watch the Big Ten Championship game and looked at his numbers in that game and saw the fact that he went 20 of 39, 226, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, you would probably go, wow, he freaking stunk. But he didn't. Because you can't just tell everything what he did from a freaking box score. That's all. You can't do that. You can't tell where the throws were made, how the throws were made, what angles he was using to make those throws, what the situation was in those throws. Yes, against Notre Dame, he had the stupid like throw behind your back thing on the last play of the game. They're trying to lateral it across the field, which is a stupid thing anyways. Yes, he has some moments in there. Yes, he has some bad interceptions. So do a lot of raw quarterbacks. But he has so much damn talent in there, and when everything's clicking, like we saw some throws he was making against Boise State. They were awesome throws. Against SMU, he wasn't really asked to do all that much because the defense was picking off Kevin Simmons every single time he snapped the ball. Like Kevin Jennings, in that game against Penn State was like when you first start driving in driver's ed. You know what one of the first things they tell you when you get in the car is like, hey, look past the hood. Because if you look down at the front of the hood, you're going to be swerving all over the place. That's what Kevin Jennings was doing. He was looking down at the hood rather than looking out what's in front of him because once the first read wasn't there, it was panic, and then he's throwing an interception. Like, that's what that game was. And Penn State's defense absolutely lit him up in that game. And Aller didn't need to do a whole lot. Yes, the game against Notre Dame in the semifinal was not his greatest performance, but Notre Dame's got one of the best pass defenses in college football. Like, against Boise, 3 touchdowns, no picks in that game. Against Oregon, 3 touchdowns in that game. Yes, 2 interceptions, but 3 touchdowns a game. Against Purdue, terrible-ass team. But against those terrible-ass teams, I want to see my quarterback put up good numbers, and he did exactly that. Against Ohio State, yes, he only completed 12 passes, still made a lot of big throws in that game. Against USC, made a lot of very big-time throws in that game. Yes, 3 interceptions, but watch the game. Don't just look at the box score and tell me he stinks. Watch the damn game. And then come back to me. Drew Aller is not a bad quarterback. Drew Aller does not need... I don't need to sit here and try to defend Drew Aller being a quote-unquote bad quarterback, because he's not that. If you haven't watched Drew Aller play, just say that, and that's perfectly fine. And what's funny is that this could all come back to bite me in the ass. He could have the worst season of all time. But right here and now, Drew Aller and Nussmeier and Arch Manning, Lenore Sellers, and Kay Klubnik, I think are all first-round guys right now. I think if the draft started tomorrow, I think Aller would be the first overall pick in the draft. Maybe Manning. It'd probably go, if the draft happened right now, Manning would probably be the first-round pick. I take that first overall pick. I take that back. But let's not just diss Aller for the sake of dissing Drew Aller, because it's kind of fun to do. Like, actually watch him play. And I hope there's actually eyes on his games this year. Because Penn State is returning a decent amount of people this coming season. They're going to be a damn good football team. Yes, they don't have Abdul Carter there anymore, but they're going to be good. They're going to be good. In Penn State, you look at their schedule right now. Yes, they play Ohio State, but they don't play Michigan. They don't really play anybody. Yes, they have Oregon in there, but apart from that, they have the tough Hawkeyes at Kinnick Stadium too. Oh, send the house against Drew Aller? Hell yeah. Mark Gronowski outplays Drew Aller at Kinnick? Hell yeah. I'm not sitting here and telling you he's a perfect quarterback. I'm not sitting here and telling you that. He's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. No quarterback is. But he has every right to be in that conversation as the first overall pick. Every single right. And right now, he is my number 1 overall quarterback. So that's my top 10. So just a recap. Number 1, Drew Aller. Number 2, Garrett Nussmeier. Number 3, we have Arch Manning. Again, only threw 90 passes. He could be number 1 very easily. Number 4, Lenore Sellers. Number 5, Kate Klubnik. Number 6, have Fernando Mendoza. Number 7, Sam Levitt. Number 8, Carson Beck. Number 9, we have John Mateer. And number 10, Sawyer Robertson. And the guys that we mentioned outside the top 10 that could be in there, Nico Iamaleva from UCLA, Rocco Becht from Iowa State, Miller Moss from Louisville, Talon Green from Arkansas, and then one of any of Noah Fafita. Who was the other guys that I said? Connor Wegman and Dante Moore. So, yeah, this doesn't mean anything at this point in time, really. It's kind of a stupid thing that I'm posting. But it's fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it. You can check it out on the LoganBlackmanShow.com. Again, there will be a video coming out on Saturday, so make sure to check that out. And with that, I think that's all I've pretty much got for you today. I forgot. This top 10 dual threat quarterback thing. I've got to talk about this real quick. I've got to talk about this because I've talked about this a little bit before, but it's starting to rear its ugly head again. Top 5 dual threat quarterbacks of all time. This started off with Isaiah Stanback, who was a quarterback at Washington. I think he played for the Seahawks or for the Cowboys for a little bit. His top 5 dual threat quarterbacks of all time are Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, Randall Cunningham, and Donovan McNabb. Those are your top 5. Well, the glaring non-inclusion is number 17 in Buffalo. Because here's my thing with dual threat quarterback. I think when people say dual threat quarterback, the first thing they think of is running. Like, it's just the best running quarterbacks. That's not dual threat. Dual threat means you're a threat running, you're a threat passing. Was Donovan McNabb at any stretch in his career? I'm not saying Donovan McNabb was a bad player. Do not get that twisted. He went to a Super Bowl and all that stuff. I understand that. Is there at any point in Donovan McNabb's career where he was ever better than Josh Allen? Ever. Or even Steve Young. Even Steve Young. Like, when was he ever better than those two? Like, Randall, he was plastic, man. Like, he was awesome. Totally tore his ACL in the 80s. He was that guy. Then he became a more pocket passer when he got to the Vikings. Randall was awesome. Cam, he was one of the most, I don't even know what word you want to describe it, one of the most intimidating presences from the quarterback position. But in the top 2, Vic and Lamar has the best case to be number 1. Lamar Jackson's better than Michael Vick. And I loved Michael Vick. Michael Vick has one of the strongest arms in NFL history. You can make probably a pretty solid case Michael Vick has a top 10 strongest arm in NFL history. It went a little wayward at times. Like, if we saw the Michael Vick we saw in Philly, down in Atlanta, we might be talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Michael Vick was an electric factory in Atlanta, but he's a better quarterback in Philadelphia in regards to a pure quarterback. He might not have been a better football player, but in regards to a better quarterback, he had a lot more touch in Philadelphia than he did down in Atlanta. Atlanta, that thing was humming every single time. That's what made him fun. But Lamar Jackson is a better dual threat quarterback than Michael Vick. Even if you want to just include a runner, like, he's just a better quarterback than Michael Vick. And that's not any discredit to Michael Vick. And Cam always bothered me to a certain extent because he was never a consistent passer. Like, really. Like, I think he had, I always talk about this. Completion percentage is not a firm grasp of accuracy. It's a good metric to tell you that the ball was thrown and caught. But his best completion percentage years, ironically, when Christian McCaffrey got there, because he just threw a shit ton of checkdowns. Cam Newton was not a great passer. He was a great athlete who had a strong arm. He was not accurate at all. And they had the good year in Carolina where they 15-1, went to the Super Bowl and all that stuff. Won an MVP, deservingly so. One of the best rookie seasons ever. One of the best rookie debuts ever. But, again, Cam Newton, Josh Allen's about to pass him for rushing touchdowns for a quarterback. Josh Allen has the most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback since 2015, or most rushing touchdowns. I can't remember the exact stat is with Josh Allen with the rushing touchdowns thing. But Josh Allen's about to pass Cam Newton rushing touchdowns. Most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback since 2015 is Josh Allen. The only three players that have more touchdowns than him in that time frame are Todd Gurley, Zeke, and Derrick Henry. And Todd Gurley and Zeke probably won't score too many touchdowns, so it's going to be Josh Allen and Derrick Henry for however many years now. Josh Allen will probably move up to number 2 by the time this year's done. Like, Josh Allen and Cam Newton, I know it's a fun thing, and I know Cam Newton won the MVP and all that stuff, and everybody loves Cam Newton because we look back and it was this nostalgic time in that. I'm going to say something probably a little mean. Cam Newton cannot lace Josh Allen's shoes. That might be mean. I don't really care. He can't. He was an electric player. He was fun when everything was clicking, but he got hurt a lot. Body ended up failing him at the end of it because he was treated like a running back rather than a quarterback when he got into the open field, so people took some really big shots on him. One, because he was the biggest dude on the field as well. But he's not even close to Josh Allen as a passer. And in regards to a runner, they're damn near the same. And Josh Allen's about to pass him in that category as well. But they're not even close as passers. That is not even a conversation to be had there. So if we're talking about dual threat, the person that you're scared the most of throwing the ball and running the ball is the guy that can throw it 90 yards and jump over an oncoming safety. That's the greatest dual threat quarterback of all time. If you want to say Lamar Jackson, that's fine. But Josh Allen is not any lower than 2 on this list. Because Michael Vick was not as good of a passer as Josh Allen. Runner, yes. Michael Vick's the second most explosive quarterback in NFL history in regards to running the ball. It's him and Lamar Jackson. That's it. But threat, throwing the ball, Josh Allen's a bigger threat throwing the ball than Vick. And running, their gap between running and throwing, like if you're going to say like the gap here is bigger here, the gap between Allen and Vick throwing the ball is bigger than the gap of Vick and Josh Allen running the ball. So Josh would be above Vick in my conversation as well. Donovan McNabb, I don't even know why he's in this conversation. I know he was a good quarterback. But again, Steve Young's not in this conversation. I haven't even brought up Steve Young. Guy who won a Super Bowl. Guy who won an MVP. Like, we haven't even talked about that guy. We got Donovan McNabb in here. No disrespect to Donovan McNabb, but it's kind of like what's a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas? Why the hell is Donovan McNabb in this picture? Good quarterback, good dual threat quarterback. I'm not saying he's not a dual threat quarterback, but why is he here? Why is he in this conversation? Yeah, I think the term dual threat kind of gets misconstrued as like who's the best running quarterback. Like, no, none of those quarterbacks are as scary throwing the ball as Josh Allen is. The gap between Josh Allen throwing the ball and everybody else on that list is bigger than the gap between all of those other guys and him running the ball. Which, by that metric, he's the greatest dual threat quarterback of all time, in my opinion. I think the top 5, and I'm not going to order, and I'll order it. I'll say Josh Allen, Lamar, Vic, Steve Young, Cam Newton. That would be my top 5. In that order. Josh Allen, Lamar, Mike Vick, Steve Young, Cam Newton. I might put Steve Young above Vic. No, that might be a little crazy. I don't think it's as crazy as people make. I think at face value, it's pretty crazy, but I don't think it's as crazy as what people think it is, or like initially would think it is. But yeah, to not have Josh Allen on the list of top 5 greatest dual threat quarterbacks of all time and have Donovan McNabb on there, you're trying to get clicks. You're trying to get attention, which congratulations you got. But yeah, that's a little ridiculous. But yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how this season goes. I did see also ML football, which you know how much I've talked about this ad nauseum, how much I hate these accounts on social media where they're the fake insiders accounts, the ML footballs, the Dove Klymans of the world out there. I hate these accounts with a burning passion. They're literally just out there to engagement farm, and I hate that that's a thing now. But the ML football posted their NFL power rankings. Top 10 reads Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes at 4. I don't care if Mahomes had a bad year last year per Mahomes standards. Mahomes not the 4th best quarterback in the NFL. He's second behind Josh Allen. But no, Mahomes is not any lower. You can't have Mahomes lower than second. Even if you want to make a conversation about Lamar or Josh or whoever to be number 1, Mahomes not dropping past. Okay, you know what? We'll pass him 3. Damn it, below Joe Burrow. What the hell are we? Joe Burrow, this past season, is starting to annoy me a little bit because Joe Burrow put up great numbers. But it's because they were losing every freaking game because they had no defense. So you had to throw the ball a shit ton. Like the Bengals, when they make the playoffs, they're still losing in the first round. Like everybody talking about the Bengals fans, they're stupid players. Like, oh, the Chiefs are afraid of the Bengals. The Chiefs wouldn't even played the Bengals because the Bengals wouldn't even beat the Bills. Like, what are we doing here? They had no defense. Yes, they had Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and stuff. They have nobody on defense. So they're forced to throw the ball a shit ton because they can't run it because they have nobody to stop the other offense. So they're in a track meet the entire time. Annoying. Joe Burrow is not better than Josh, Lamar, or Patrick Mahomes. Those 3 are in their own conversation. Joe Burrow is comfortably in 4th, but I'm not saying he's dropping any lower than that. But no, those 3 are in their own separate category, and then Burrow at 4. And then this is where we get a little bit more interesting. 5 is Jayden Daniels. It's always scary having a rookie ranked top 5, but it's hard not to see why based off last year. Then you got Baker, which at 6 is pretty crazy. I like Baker, but that's a little crazy. Herbert at 7. Stafford 8. Jalen Hurts 9. Jordan Love 10. I like Jordan Love. I've talked about Jordan Love a lot on this show. But can I say he's a top 10 quarterback based off last year? I don't know. On talent, yeah. I think he is on talent. But based off of what he did, I don't know. But we'll go throughout the rest of the list. But Hurts at 9, I have a hard time with that one. Herbert being below Baker is a little weird for me too. I don't know. Stroud's at 11. Drake May at 12. I like Drake May. What has he done to this point to be warrant number 12? And I love Drake May. I hate that he plays for the Patriots, and I will hate him for that. But as a player, I like Drake May quite a bit. But number 12, no. Maybe after this year, yeah. But not right now. Then Dak 13, Sam Darnold 14. Sam Darnold's not the 14th best quarterback in the NFL. Sam Darnold's coming off one good year. I think we got to kind of backpedal and go like, okay, let's put our hands up here. He's had one good year with a very quarterback-friendly team around him. Like, let's see what he does in Seattle first. Tua 15, Jared Goff 16. Like, did they just see Jared Goff wears number 16 and throw him at 16? That's the only logical explanation why he's this low. Jared Goff is not worse than Sam Darnold. He's not. He's not worse than Tua. He's not worse currently than Drake May. I think Drake May will be better than him, but he's not worse currently than Drake May. He's not even, I don't even think right now he's worse than the guy that replaced him in LA. But that's another conversation. At this point, I'm not saying careers, but at this point. Purdy 17, Kyler 18, Bryce Young 19. Again, I know Bryce Young had a very good second half of the season. Top 20 quarterback in the league? I think we're going a little crazy here. Then Bo Nix 20. Bo Nix is not worse than Bryce Young right now. He's not. I think Bryce Young is a better talent. I think he's more talented than Bo Nix. But to sit here and say Bo Nix below Bryce Young, and I'm not saying Bo Nix should be a lot higher than this, but he's going to be below Bryce Young. And same with Geno, and same with Trevor Lawrence. I like those two shouldn't be below Bryce Young at this point. I understand that people don't like Trevor Lawrence. I completely understand that, but to be at 22 below Bryce Young, who's had really one good half throughout his 2 years in the league. Caleb Williams at 23, fine. I think I don't know. Caleb Williams is a weird one. Cam Ward 24. You know me. I'm always going to have rookies ranked last. Because they haven't played. How can I rank them high if they haven't played? Michael Penix 25. Shedeur 26. Shedeur has not played in the NFL. Shedeur is not guaranteed a starting spot. Shedeur is a 5th-round draft pick at the end of the day. He cannot be in this list. And even he was, you'd have him at 20, 30, or 32 or 31 because he's a rookie. He hasn't played yet. My gut would say Kenny Pickett's going to be the starter, week 1. That would be my guess, but could be wrong. Justin Fields, 27. Mason Rudolph, 28. Jackson Tart, 29. He's not the starter. They have already announced that. He's not the starter, so you can't have him on here. J.J. McCarthy, 30. We haven't seen him play, so that's fine. I think J.J. McCarthy is going to be higher than this because J.J. McCarthy is damn good, but he should be higher, but based off what I think he can be, but we haven't seen him play. Derek Carr, 31. I mean, I've never been the biggest fan of Derek Carr, but 31 might be a little mean. Then Anthony Richardson, 32. Anthony Richardson is not the worst quarterback in the NFL. He's not worse than Mason Rudolph. I can tell you that for free. He's not worse than Kenny Pickett. Like, let's be. I know he's a frustrating quarterback, but he's not worse than those guys. He's definitely not worse than Mason Rudolph. Pound for pound, Mason Rudolph is probably the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. Like, if we're looking at all the teams right now. Again, we can include the Browns here with Kenny Pickett. Would you rather have Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph? The Steelers had that choice. And they, at the end of the day, they chose neither. They're like, both of you get out of here. We'd rather, and then they brought Mason Rudolph back. So I guess that shows you who they like more. But yeah, these accounts, they just frustrate the hell out of me. Jared Goff at 16 is crazy. Joe Burrow above Patrick Mahomes is also crazy. Just because what? The Bengals beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game 5 years ago? Like, that's awesome. Cool. I know it wasn't 5 years ago, but I'm exaggerating, obviously, for dramatic effect. Goodness gracious, this stuff's fun. I love, like, I'm just going to stop talking about Oh, I did see this. Cam Newton threw for 400-plus yards in each of his first 2 starts. Never threw for 400 yards again for the rest of his career. Just for a little caveat for the thing we talked about earlier. Just for the last thing you talked about. Oh, my goodness. But, yeah, that's all I've got for you today on this edition of the Logan Blackman Show. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did not, I sincerely apologize. Try to be better next time. Make sure to check out the blog post on LoganBlackmanShow.com for the insanely early 2026 NFL Draft Quarterback Prospect Rankings. Make sure to also check out the YouTube video, which will be out on Saturday. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you're ready for that. Make sure to also follow, like, subscribe, all the different other forms of social media. Follow the Apple Podcast, Spotify accounts. Make sure to subscribe to both YouTube channels. And I will see you guys later. Peace.